God forbid a theater kid catches a vibe. You know, this video was supposed to open with show tunes, just like Inscription Part 4. But no, the YouTube robot can't tell the difference between copyright and parody. So instead, please enjoy my take on Victor Bucelar's birthday theme from Cube Escape Birthday in the style of a mecha boss fight. Darn copyright. Well, if you'd like to listen to my Rusty Lake themed parody of Camelot, please hop on over to the Slaw Peacock channel. Big thank you to Alexander and Yuliya Bojic for the wonderful cover of Camelot. Camelot! Now, I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but I'm not ready to even give a temporary goodbye to the Rusty Lake series. I mean, look, 2026 is just around the corner. It won't be long until we're back here again, but still, this series was something special. Now, this video will be covering The Past Within, Underground Blossom, and the Mr. Rabbit Magic Show. The Past Within centers around Rose Vanderboom and Albert Vanderboom, two characters who made their debuts in Rusty Lake Roots. The game itself is meant to be played co-op, two friends with two copies of the game working together verbally to complete Rusty Lake-style puzzles. One person plays as Rose from the future, and the other plays as Rose from the past. Now, most people online claim that this game should not be played solo. And I think that's because it just doesn't feel right telling any one person to buy a game twice, just to play it solo. But I don't know, Rusty Lake games are quite inexpensive, and this honestly was my favorite experience of all the games. Personally, I think that this game is very chaotic, in a good way, when played solo. But if you want to sit this one out because you can't find another person to play with, or just for the principle of not wanting to buy a game twice, then just watch my video. That'll all be well and good. But I will not say the same thing about Underground Blossom. If you've been enjoying the Rusty Lake series primarily through my videos, this is your chance to really experience the full, well, blossoming of the series on your own. Seriously. Buy and play this game. The music, the level sequencing, just the pacing is very, very accessible for long-time viewers, first-time puzzlers. I'll just leave it at that. And then Mr. Rabbit's Magic Show, a capstone to the series as a whole, celebrating the studio's 10-year anniversary, but also a sort of thank you letter in the form of a game to us the fans. Even as a latecomer tourist to the series, I certainly felt the love emitting from it. Compared to the last three videos, I have a feeling this one's going to be a quickie, so let's get right into it. Alrighty, welcome to Rusty Lake, a place where memories are captured in little cubes. You are here together. You both have a choice between the past and the future. Make sure you don't make the same choice. I'm going to be in the past, and my phone self is going to be in the future. So both parties need to choose different versions of Rose. Of course, we can tell from the past silhouette this is the Rose post Laura's birth, whereas the future silhouette shows a shorter woman with a sort of bun. I'll just jump this very light gun now, more like jumping the slingshot really. This will be a much older Rose. Now, after we pick our roses, we have to make a new choice, the bee or the butterfly. Now, gameplay-wise, this changes a few visual stuff and the puzzle solutions. Without getting too nitty-gritty, this game is played co-op, but does not require Wi-Fi. This is because all the solutions that the future player communicates to the past player, and vice versa, are the same along all playthroughs. It's baked into the game, not randomized. So the bee and the butterfly are two preset games with unique solutions, making it so that you can play through this game twice in a fresh manner. For our lore purposes, as far as I know, the story beats are the same regardless of what bug you choose. We'll just stick with the bee because I really enjoyed myself and want to save butterfly for when I play this with a friend. Now, also for our lore purposes, the butterfly and bee should remind us of somebody. Albert Vanderboom, one of the Vanderboom triplets. If you remember from the Child's Play event in Rusty Lake Roots, Albert was fighting over a butterfly with his sister Emma, and Samuel, the second brother of the trio, sniped Albert with a slingshot, causing him to tumble into a tree, and then he sniped a beehive, causing it to fall upon Albert's head. Albert was already born with a birthmark, and so the brutal scars of the stinging bees accentuated the blemish. So, bees and butterflies, two spirit animals of Albert Vanderboom's angst. Now, if you remember in Rusty Lake Roots, the Brood event, likely the event that got my Part 2 video demonetized, Albert, part fantasy, part scientifically concocted or conceived an alchemical baby. And that baby would grow up to be Rose Vanderboom. And being that Rose Vanderboom is either the biological or adoptive mother of Laura Vanderboom, in a fun way, that would make Albert Laura's grandfather. So, in a way, from the perspective of the series protagonist Laura Vanderboom, in Past Within, the story will be centering around Mama Rose and Grandpappy Albert. How sweet. Now, let's make some memories. On the computer, we'll be playing the past, and on the phone, we'll be playing the future. Alrighty, the future and the past, Chapter 1. This is gonna be nuts. Alright, in the past we have the classic Rusty Lake 2D art style, being able to rotate around, analyze, and interact with the room. Whereas in the future we're in a sort of 3D room, focusing on this high-tech looking cube. In the past we have a letter to read from none other than our father, Albert Vanderboom.
My dear daughter Rose, if you find this letter, I'm no longer part of this world. Although there is hope, over the last couple months I've been working on a device to establish contact with a trustworthy person in the future. Be aware, the room you are in right now may be affected by this person. Please open this box first and await further instructions.
January 1926. So this would place the writing of this letter before the fall of 1926, when Frank Vanderboom, son of Emma Vanderboom, exacted his revenge, killing Albert Vanderboom. Now, while this letter was, of course, written before he died, we will come to learn that we are currently, or at least currently in the past, part of Past Within, at Albert Vanderboom's wake, at our father's wake. So, likely, late 1926. Not sure if timelines are going to be super important in this video since we're wrapping a lot of things up, but this will be kind of cool to, just appreciate the late stages of the Vanderboom legacy, specifically Rose, Albert, and of course, Laura. Following the instructions from the letter in the past, we look to the cube in the future. Turning it on, it whirs and chugs. This invention's name is called a cubicle device. It has some sort of serial number or version, 018F. Not sure if this is important. The introductory text says, "Welcome to the cubicle device. This cubicle device holds a memory that contains the room of the person in the past." After all, our pops did tell us that the stuff that the future person does will influence the room contained in this cube. But before seeing what that looks like, let's go ahead and plant some seeds, or really, water some seeds. First off, front and center, it seems that, just like with previous titles, the characters within these cubes are not characters executing history in the making. We're playing out events that have simply already unfolded. I imagine there's some school of philosophy out there that plays around with the ambiguity of these kinds of things. But something I also, and personally, am reminded of is just how, like in Paradox and even in gameplay of The White Door, we are playing with this idea of cubes smaller than us, containing things larger than us. Mind-bendy, paradoxical stuff that plays with time and space. Now's a good time to add the first question that we will hopefully be answering during the final summation of this series. So, a simple one. What are the cubes? Proceeding, we see a little animation depicting the contained memory. We're given a warning that once connection is established with the contained memory, things we will do will affect its room. To verify access, we must simply punch in the year of the past's memory, 1926. Doing so, we have a pattern to communicate to our past self.
Okay, what you want to do, I'm seeing on my phone, you want to it's like an X.
Like an X? Well, it's like a 3 by 3. Oh, okay, gotcha, so like an X. Okay, gotcha. It's open. I got a matchbox.
Okay, I click enter. Yeah, just click enter. Please confirm that the person in the past opened the box. You opened it, right?
Yeah, we're good.
That's a little fun animation. Oh, it's like a bee. And I got a matchbox too. Alright, family verification required to continue. Please activate input panel. Okay, hold on. Okay, I found a little input panel and I just insert the switch. Okay.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead and make my way. You said something about paintings, I heard, yeah, okay. Alright, I see some paintings or some pictures. Alrighty.
Alright, what do you got on your end?
I've got a house on the top left.
All right, house on the top left.
B on the top right.
Okay, B on the top right.
Bird on the bottom left.
Alrighty, and I got a father and a daughter on the bottom right.
No, I'm gonna tell you that one.
Oh wait.
I fucked up the bit where I fucked it up.
Okay, we got it. Now I have 4 symbols.
I've just, by sheer luck, I've completely clicked on the exact place I need to go to. All right, so go ahead, just go give me some symbols.
Upside down cross, a crosshair, like a thermometer shape, and then what looks like
Blueprints, right?
yeah, kind of like a blueprint, like in a symbol, like a simple room. You need the other. Okay, we're good.
I'm like fucking up. I'm trying to like make this as chaotic as possible. I can't even. Okay, it's so trippy playing two these at the same time. This is your brain on fucking Rusty Lake. Okay.
I forgot how much fun I had recording this game footage. Now, before us is the coffin of our father Albert, confirming that the events of the past is of us putting him to rest. The events of the future, however, will be a very satisfying mirror in 2 ways that come to mind, actually. Now, we prepare our puzzle implements at the heater, causing it to fill the room with smoke. Yucky.
Alrighty, the room is filling up with smoke. I think you should progress to see where it takes you.
Okay, gotcha. It looks like I got to, okay, so I've got like 3 sliders.
Ooh, yeah, I'm seeing something like that. 3 sliders.
Yeah, not like the hamburger sliders.
I know. Like, just like little, like, yeah, I'm assuming that you have to set like these 3 meters. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Top one all the way to the left.
Gotcha.
Middle one all the way to the right.
Okay.
And then the bottom one is 1 from the left. So it's 1 over.
Okay, gotcha. I have a battery. Do I pick it up?
Yeah, I mean, in these kinds of games, just pick up everything you see.
All right. Oh. I think I know where I gotta put it here. Okay, I put the battery in here. And now a fan is going, so all the smoke, I got smoke too.
So my smoke's coming from coal. What's yours coming from?
Something maybe nuclear. This is a pretty high-tech device. I've got a time on my end.
Ooh, gotcha. Give it to me.
13:15.
Once we set the time in the past to the displayed time from the future, what we see is the fan from the future allowing the smoke to ventilate out of the room from the past. The draft causes an image of our dear father to fall from the wall. Beneath his image is a message. Rose, wear the mask yourself. Using the key we secure said mask. Ooh, Albert Vanderboom's snow mask. But now a sort of iconic mask of Rose. I believe she rocks it better than her father. Now, real quick, I want to point out that when we wear the mask, the whole room gets a bit frosty, just like in Albert's premiere event, Masks. The white mask affects the weather outside, making it very snowy or wintry.
Hell yeah.
I feel left out. I'm just here staring at my interface. Ooh, I backed out because I was feeling left out. And some things moved.
What do you see?
I got a photo slide and a key.
Okay. You probably want to look around to see where you can put that key.
Oh, found it.
Nice. Very nice. Alrighty.
Okay, so I have, okay, so I need, let me read the instructions real quick.
Hold on. I think, let me tell you, maybe I think I know what's going on.
Okay, let's see if you know it.
There's a dial.
Yes.
And there's like a cross and an arrow and like a dot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is align it then. You're gonna put the arrow to the left.
Okay.
You're gonna put the cross.
Oh yeah, we already got it. Okay. All right. You got a mountain.
All right.
The tree.
Gotcha.
And a cube.
All right. Okay, it's changed.
Okay. All right. All right. So top right, the cross, a little bit to the top left, the arrow, and then to the bottom right. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, go on. I'm supposed to tell you these things, but you can go ahead and just finish it off. The little dot to the left. Okay, gotcha. I guess might as well. Is it going?
No, I think I fucked it up. 1 second. Oh. There we go. Okay, all right.
So butterfly,
Yeah.
and then a knife, I'm assuming.
Yeah. How do you know?
All right, so it's just so fucking stupid.
All right, now I do want to point out that the little glass art depicts many familiar Rusty Lake motifs. To the right, we have the deer skull, but also I like to think that the eye references the hint icon from earlier titles. To the left, we have the mountain range of Rusty Lake, a butterfly or perhaps one of those trauma moths. We've got the tree, the mask, a cube, and a knife. Solving these puzzles, our two selves come face to face.
Oh, I see a lady with a mask.
That's me. I think we're good. Oh, and I see a little circle with a glass. That might be you. I see your eye.
Whoa! You sure this isn't connected?
No, I just think we're timing this properly. My guy said, "Who is that?"
What did I say? I'm not saying anything. I must be in the know more than you are.
That makes sense. You're in the future. I'm in the past. Makes sense that I wouldn't recognize you, maybe.
Very cool.
You're gonna pay me, right?
Huh?
So, the Rose of the Future holds in her hands, or on her table, the cube that contains the Rose of the past. However, this is going to flop, and sort of get a lot more complicated. Remember what we explored in the White Door during that recreation segment, that strange paradoxical space of that miniature of our containment room. And of course, the strange paradoxical conundrum of course, paradoxes end and start points. Synchronizing some switch patterns, we get a yellow floppy disk and load something called an extraction program, extracting memories perhaps.
I'm seeing Albert Vanderboom.
Ooh. All right, gotcha.
L-V-A-E-R-O.
Gotcha. Which O?
The one in Boom?
Yeah, but which one? The first one or the second one? I got it, don't worry about it. My papa. He still has the scar from when his head got cut off.
What kind of a game are you playing?
The future cube gives us a sort of riddle. What's the closest to the heart of Albert? Well, in his front pocket we find, of course, a picture of Ida Reisiger, who married into the Vanderboom family through Samuel, Albert's brother. If you recall, Albert was in love with Ida, but because he couldn't have her, he murdered his own brother and sister-in-law, Samuel and Ida. I should note that Ida's ovum, her egg, was used in the aforementioned alchemical means that birthed Rose. So this is a photo of Rose's mother, a mother that didn't even get to raise or even birth her own daughter. Wicked man, this Albert. In a way, Rose's reclaiming of baby Laura's fate is a righteous correction to such violence and sin committed by her very father. Oh, and on the topic of Albert's part science-y, part magic-y bringing of Rose's life, here we have the start to another mirror. The person of the past must obtain 3 substances: bone, flesh, and blood. Of course, here we have a slight echo of this balance the substances concept, albeit here it's more just a surface level rhyme, at least for now. First, we must extract bone from our dear father, in the form of his teeth. We pry open his jaw, solve a dental puzzle, and extract the tooth. After a bit of puzzling, we collect candles, light them all at the candelabra, and collect a key, gaining instructions for our next substance, flesh.
And we have a diary with an ear on it.
Okay, place it on the altar.
All right. Albert Vanderboom's diary. All right, this is your set.
All right, 1 second.
First prompt I've got is, as a child, I was attacked by bees. My siblings laughed at me.
Bottom right square.
Gotcha. Ooh, hold on, let me squiffle that in. Ida, she left me with a broken heart.
Okay, I need the photo slide. Okay. He's playing chess.
That's not the one.
He was someone curled up. It's like a corrupted soul.
You're supposed to pretend you don't know what that... No, it's not it.
All right, he's holding Rose. He's holding a baby. Okay, it's the fortune teller, Ida. The one who died. I'm just gonna pretend. I don't know.
fucking get it.
This puzzle is particularly cool because we are sort of extracting memories in the form of these white squares, of course, photos. I wonder why many mediums of posterity take the form of something square or cube-like. Probably has something to do with manufacturing and storage, nothing too profound. After all, we have CDs, and there really isn't a shape to data anymore. USBs are pretty rectangular, I guess. Now, these memories are nothing we aren't already familiar with, except this one. I have been working on the cubicle device to establish a connection with the future. Now, this cubicle device that Albert is referring to is not the one that we're playing with in the 3D future game, but one we'll be interacting with in the past. We've already kind of passed by it, I haven't been focusing on it, but you'll see what I'm referring to in a moment.
My dark soul will live on into the future, waiting for its resurrection.
Well, that kind of sucks, so it's the Dark Soul that gets resurrected, not him.
Wow! Surprised I came to that conclusion so long ago. Mind you, I recorded this game footage even before part 1 of my series was released. But yes, let's consider the separateness of the corrupted soul. This is something that we kind of toyed around with in the last video when theorizing on the ending of Samsara Room, specifically regarding William Vanderboom's corrupted soul. Were we simply playing as the shadow form of William Vanderboom, or were we playing as a sort of incarnation made up of his various pains, joys, and angsts? For the purposes of this whiteboard, we'll pose that as the question, what are corrupted souls? Anyways, we cut off our papa's ear, securing our flesh substance, and all we have left is the blood.
Alright. Ooh. Creepy. 312ZYX. You want me to just suspend the bit?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be right here. I got a spoon, another code for you.
All right. X. You go.
XCY 312. Okay. I've got something. I got a gem. Alrighty, hold tight. I'm just gonna go ahead and collect the blood.
With all substances of our dear father collected, we find the cubicle device of the past. It's not nearly as high-tech, and of course is shown in this 2D fashion. Once the substances are placed in their respective compartments, we get a letter from our father. Or I should say we find a letter from our father.
From Rusty Lake, January 1926. My dear daughter Rose, when you read this letter, you have activated the device I have been working on. When used in the right way, it can help the person in 1984. It is your task to transfer both bone, flesh, and blood into the future to initiate the resurrection process. Your loving father, Albert.
So, the events of the future in the past within take place in 1984. That's a huge leap. I wonder how this is going to peg to our larger timeline. Because if you think about it, Laura died in 1971. What a nightmare. Every parent's worst fear to outlive their daughter, their son, their child. But if that's the case, why don't we ever see any Rose post Laura's death, a reaction? Where is she? Where did she go? Is she just locked away fiddling with some sort of futuristic cube? We'll definitely have to keep this in mind. We punch in the future year, 1984.
Oh, it's creepy! It's creepy!
Play it again.
Oh, it's creepy! It's creepy!
Fascinating. It's that scraggly tree that we see at the end of Roots, and I believe in the end of Samsara Room. But I might just be thinking of Rose holding Laura, which is seen, of course, at the end of Roots. But this tree is heavily associated with Rose Vanderboom, and this association won't reach a blossom, but it will certainly germinate by the end of this game. We play a cassette, bump some tunes, sync the time, and then the timbre and the pulse makes its way into the cube of the past, causing everything to hop to the beat. A vase with a rose falls and breaks, revealing a key which gets us 2 chess pieces. A white chess piece depicting Albert with his deer skull head, and a black piece depicting, I assume, his corrupted form. It's interesting to think about. It's a duo, but it comes from the single, chain or stem of a single soul, both with roles to play, it seems. Our past and future selves play a game of chess with each other, a fitting callback not just to the chess motifs of Paradox, but also the death of Albert. If you recall, Frank's victory over Albert in the game of chess is what allowed him to exact his revenge. Once the chess puzzle is complete, we get a red floppy disk, and inserting it into the future cube, we see a little animation of an emerging digital corrupted soul. Very cool. Placing the 2 coins onto the eyes of Albert, this happens.
Hold on. It says this may cause corruption of the soul. All right, well, go ahead. We should probably press continue at the same time for the sake of, you know. All right, let's do it. Ready? Set. Go.
Very cool! Huh! The coins transform into the circular white eyes of the corrupted soul, perhaps emphasizing the transitory nature of the corrupted soul. One temporarily wanders in their corrupted form towards the next life, just how like one pays their obols to Charon to sail to the next stage, into the afterlife. Now, when Albert's corrupted soul crawls out, he makes gross, slimy noises, perhaps to reflect his gross, slimy character. We secure our first fuse with a slide puzzle, a second fuse with a switch puzzle, and then, when talking to the hungry ghost, he says, "It is almost time, and you must help me." We solve the viewing lens puzzle to see this very cool scene.
All right, I think, okay. I see you. I guess I'll look at that for thematic purposes. Ah, so someone behind you! I know, it's my dad. Oh, he's in front of me now.
Gosh, it's nuts how, in a very similar way to how the corrupted soul would stand behind Laura, we see the corrupted soul of Albert standing behind Rose. It's almost like there is this emphasis on living in the shadow of a shadow. The sort of sins of the father, sins of a distant great uncle in the case of Laura. Almost has me thinking like when Rose wears the mask, this darkness of her father's past is controlling the strings. Now, with all 3 fuses, we pulled the lever baby Gronk, sync time, and bring power back into the past cube. However, there seems to be a surplus of energy. Zaps and bolts of electricity course through the room, and looking around we find that our father is harnessing said energy. Aha! A golden cube, a connection to the future. Remember that mantra that's associated with the gold cube? The cubes are not only the key to the past, but also the future. So perhaps just like how a blue cube is a way that the future affects the past, the gold cube, at least in this case, is a way for the past to affect the future. I guess depending on how you look at it, it might be flipped around. The more you think about it, the more ambiguous it is. Very head-hurty. Placing the cube into the device, we can see a faint silhouette of the elder Rose in her lab. Shall we enter the next phase?
Nice. I love this. The Future and the Past, Chapter 2. Oh, it's all 2D. Whoa, it's all 3D. All right, so it looks like you're gonna be following my lead now. Ooh, let me look around in the corner. Okay, cool.
Very nice. Now what we do in the past will in turn affect the future. The spaces in the paradox have switched in a way. Now, the resurrection process requires us to transfer the bone, flesh, and blood into this device, in other words, to the person in the future. We punch in a code and are given instructions to give to our future self.
Hey, you know what? Do yourself a favor. Whoa, 1 second. The cube came out. I just gotta pick it up. Do yourself a favor. Look at all the different things. Like, look around. I found a glass cup. And there's a sink nearby. Should I fill it with water? Yeah, do that. Do yourself a favor and do that. Okay, got it. It's probably not just it. Are there any matches nearby? I already picked it up. Damn, nice. Prolific. Or prodigal. Prodigy. I got a scalpel. I'm surprised there's no fish in these drawers. You're supposed to not have played the game before. I know! Alright, putting the black cube in. C9.
The code is basically black all the way down the left, black all the way down the right. I got it.
Fascinating. Just like in the Mills extraction segment and the cave submarine segment, we're seeing visual representations of memories being extracted from cubes. Here it's a candle, the moving of a chess piece, a clock, a rose, and Albert's corrupted soul. And now I'm reminded of that bit with the cabinet in The White Door, the very last panel or a TV channel showing Robert's corrupted soul. But anyways, the sequence ends with Albert's corrupted soul materializing in this vat in the future. Now, synchronizing the positions on the gauge to the dial, we have this short scene.
Oh, found something. Do you have anything musical related near you?
I saw on the top of the locker a radio.
Using the piano, we play the musical notes heard on the radio, and something catches the corner of my eye.
Alright, I got the tooth key. Ooh, I see my dad crawling up the wall.
Gross. Well, we take the tooth and send it over to the future. Of course, since the paradoxical spatial positions of the future and past have switched, the tooth is now very large. Using some chalk, we draw up some symbols on the chalkboard, as well as a code for our past self to draw up a sort of poem.
When I lay in my coffin, and my eyes become white, my soul will turn black.
My eyes become white, my soul will turn black.
Use the cube to connect me to the future.
Use the cube to connect me to the future.
Bring me bone, flesh, and blood.
Bone, flesh, blood. Ooh, I got a hammer.
Nice.
It's got a big ass tooth.
We break the tooth, vacuum up the bone particulates, and once it enters the vat, they form the bones of our dear father Albert. My 2D future self destroys the cube and collects its remaining debris. We chase a mouse around the lab, much like we did in The White Door, and find a little hidey hole where we locate a key that gets us a plethora of puzzle pieces. Following some blueprints, we find some hidden compartments with gears, and assemble the cogworks, lowering a voodoo doll into our view, our father's favorite tool for destruction. I wonder if Rose is aware that it was Albert that killed her mother, likely with this very doll. If you remember, the torso was punctured with a needle, translating to a big wooden beam, killing Ida Reisiger. The missing eye is also tracks also. If you remember, one of Samuel's eyes and one of Ida's eyes were extracted. But yes, grim memories aside, we use the hook and attach it to the compartment with the ear, simulating a sort of fishing line, and there's our mental health and fishing rhyme. Also, the ear is certainly a callback to Van Gogh and, I guess, Gerard Islander. Perhaps the little thing of blood is a slant rhyme to a Bloody Mary. Communicating some puzzles across space and time, I'm pestered by this bee, punch in a code, and walk myself through a maze, lowering in a big ol' ear. We pull off a piece of flesh, brew some coffee, gather our various implements, and combine our implements in the correct order to culture the flesh into something more alive. The lump of flesh makes its way into the vat and our dear father forms. He's just missing his blood. Pulling away from the past cube, we are lightly startled by the corrupted soul of our father. So even though the Albert of the future is being reformed, this one in the room with us in the past is still slimily crawling up the walls. Taking a peek, we see the formation unfold and are given a valve. Back in the future cube, it seems that bee pestering us in the past has broken into the cube. Now, of course, a lot larger, very creepy. We process the blood and the carboniferous-coated bee knocks over a locker, hunting the rat. We get a key and open a new locker. Within it is our father's coat, a locked box, and a valve. We use the valve to activate an interface and communicate symbols across space and time to one another to process the blood. This is one puzzle that I feel would be a lot more challenging with another person, but all the more fun because of it. I think this is my favorite puzzle in all of Past Within, just because it's so challenging. Of course, the vial of blood is small to our past self, but when transferring it into the future cube, we can really see like the welling, the pressure building up, blood dripping from the ceiling as the vat fills up. We ensanguinate the veins of our father, and his features are brought back. Scars, blemishes, hair, and all. I mentioned it already, but here we have the full circle of events. Rose was born in a glass container through sci-fi fantasy alchemical means in the Brood event in 1909. And here we have the loving daughter returning the favor in 1984, also in a similar fashion. The next puzzle is simple. We must cross-reference those previous scenes in the black cube to items in the past room, using a telescope, communicating 3x3 patterns. The scenes in the black cube show the corrupted soul wandering past a candle, bumping off the white deer chess piece with its own corrupted black chess piece, a spinning clock, and a rose. Perhaps these are just smaller scale memories. Vignettes that too are, in a way, substances of Albert's past life. Completing the sequence causes Albert to awaken and break out of his glass containment. He crawls away, and we find him in the locker, wearing his fit.
It's you, my daughter. It seems much time has passed. You have brought me back to life, but we are not finished yet. We are all trapped in the cubes we have created. We have to find a way out. Look into my pocket.
While I work through these puzzles, I want to focus on what he says. We are trapped in these cubes we have created. Maybe, in other words, trapped in these memories. Perhaps here we see that characters have gained some level of self-awareness or sentience in the roles they play within these memories. Maybe these fabricated cubes created by human hands were meant to harness the power of knowledge or memories, preserve the brilliance of their subjects. Not sure. Maybe this phrase, "we are trapped in the cubes we have created," is better interpreted as being tied to the choices we've made, weighed down by the fully fruited karma, good, bad, and painful. Now, the riddle before us is, when I open my eyes in the future, I will wear a mask, and I will show you the gems. Only then can we escape the cube we are trapped in. Solving the chalkboard puzzle and punching in a code, the bee returns to the past, and we get a key in the future. The bee activates a sort of 3-compartment panel that we use to place gems into. The key in the future unlocks a box of Albert's famous masks.
Give me a mask.
This half mask was what Albert wore during the debaucherous and murderous events of the family band. This was where he zombified his brother and in-law, Samuel and Ida, traumatized his nephew Leo, and either murdered or shocked to death his own mother, Mary Vanderboom. The surroundings are golden here, and Albert leans back and forth in rhythm. We'll get back to this shortly, but there's something twisted about this brutal memory being associated with something positive, like a golden aura. Now, solving this riddle, we get the golden gem, then give Albert a new mask, the deer skull mask. The surroundings are bloodied and red. Simply setting some slide switches to a correct order, we gain the red gem. And then finally the white snow mask. The surroundings are white and snowy, but the music also reminds me a lot of the White Doors soundtrack, specifically the second day, very The Warriors-esque. Now the puzzle piece here is that gauge. Simply looking into the peephole, we see Albert and the old lady Rose. Crazy, huh? I mean, they might be similar in age now, which is kind of mind-blowing. But then we gain a needle. Puncturing the voodoo doll with the needle, we gain the white gem. Before placing the final gem into the socket, let's explore what these gems might indicate or symbolize. These gems are in the shape of hexagons, but I always mention this in my videos. This shape keeps coming up all the time, from Signalis to Hex to now. But if you look at the corner of a cube, a 3D cube head-on, and just look at the edges, it forms a hexagonal shape. So we can see these gems as also being cube motifs. We're familiar with the color white and gold when it comes to the cubes, but there are no red cubes. I'm tempted to almost consider that these gems and their associated puzzles signify joy, pain, and violence. The golden gem with the piping in of the family band music brings joy to Albert. It was the peak of his machinations. Although, if we want to be more charitable, it could be the one pure memory he had before crossing that Rubicon of evil. He had already thrown Frankie into the well at this point, but Frankie was alive, so he hadn't taken a life just yet. A human life, that is. The butterfly doesn't count in masks. I think the family band would be the event right before he took his first life, indirectly with Mary and directly with Samuel and Ida. The red gem encapsulates his evil doings, his negative karma in the form of the evil he wrought upon his own family through his occult methodology. And then white. Pain, stagnation, anxiety. When we see him use the white mask in the very first memory after the Child's Play event, we see Albert for the first time as an adult, exploring the use of these masks, discovering avenues to show power where before he felt alienated, bullied, powerless. Maybe these colors and their surroundings are just puzzles using past settings, events, and motifs. If you know, you knows that longtime fans would appreciate. But even if not fruitful, this little excursion ultimately reminds me of that aspect of karma that we explored in the last video, and how we saw it reverberate even as far back as Rusty Lake roots. The misfortunes that befell the Vanderboom family, from the events of Family Band, to the painting, to the swing, all stem or branch from the first seed of this negative memory, child's play. The seed of pain fruited pain itself. The outcome of karma reflected the intention within its initial action. And this ultimately makes sense why we see so many trees throughout this series, full fruitions of a single seed. Keep this in mind because we're going to see something blossom just around the corner. Now, clicking the final gem in, the compartments rotate and the golden cube is pushed out from the top. The dark, corrupted hands of our father grips it tightly. He says, the future in the past in the future. There is a way out, to the lake where we belong. Give me the black cube in the future. In the future, we punch in a pattern and get a black cube.
Give me the cube. The past in the future. The future in the past. A cube. Inside a cube. There is a way out. To the lake where we both belong, my daughter. If the 3 gems are found, and the golden cube is revealed in the past, look closely into the cube I hold. Both of you, press and hold the middle of the cube for 10 seconds at the same time.
It's funny to hear him give gameplay instructions. Kind of reminds me of those old GameCube game tutorials. You need to secure the staff of the sun. Well, how do I get up there? Press the A button to jump. Now, something very minor that I want to really hone in on is the fact that the corrupted soul says, to the lake where we belong, and Albert says, to the lake where we belong, my daughter. This probably isn't a big deal, but I wonder if this indicates that the corrupted soul itself, much like I proposed in the Samsara room, is kind of its own entity. If we're operating on this reincarnation model, a corrupted soul is a reincarnation. You die and you reincarnate as that corrupted soul, a new being. Now, in the model of Rusty Lake, the corrupted soul is tied to the past life because it's a conglomeration of all its pain, joys, and deeds. But still, it very much is a unique incarnation, a species, if you will. The corrupted soul may stir its own being, recognizing Rose as something significant to its past life. But I would argue, I would encourage us to explore. Maybe this corrupted soul is not Albert. It simply is a corrupted soul. A lot of nuance there that we need not spend too much time on, but I wanted to just briefly mention it. Now, shall we press and hold the middle of the cube for 10 seconds at the same time? Press the A button to jump.
I love this sequence so much, just having it. Wow, I love it. I love it, it's so cool. I'm just holding my phone up and watching this whole thing unfold. Very cool. You have reached the end. Has the other person also reached the end? Yes. The loop is broken, the gap is closed. Time doesn't exist in the lake. The future and the past blend together. I feel like that explains quite a lot now. You and the other person are the same. You both belong to the lake now, where your soul will blossom. You know, it's so funny as I was probably dreading this one the most, and this is probably one of my favorite ones. I cannot wait to show my friends this. I low-key, oh gosh.
How many times have I said that already? Every single game I play, I always considered, oh, this has got to be my favorite in this series. Perhaps that's a sign of a good series. And the ending was simple enough. The two major things we can extract are the cube inside a cube aspect and, of course, the blossomed tree, born of the two roses. The whole of Past Within's little experiment, the extraction of the substances, then the unification of the substances, involves making sense of something that can't be made sense of. The paradoxical nature of these two realities, these two cubes in relation to one another. Which one is contained within which? We see a similar model implicitly shown at the end of Paradox. We wake within a room-sized cube and then escape it into a forest and make our way to the ending where we find another cube. And within that one is our new cycle, a new room-sized cube to wake up into. A similar thing is seen during the recreation miniature in The White Door. Robert Hill plays with this little miniature version of his room, and a smaller shadow version of himself crawls out and walks towards its own recreational box. Only when it looks into it, it's looming over the bigger, or I guess middling, Robert. What's the significance of Past Within's ending, specifically regarding Albert Vanderboom's little cube collider accelerator? Perhaps the father and daughter sought to create some sort of paradox that creates a portal that accelerates into infinity. And then sci-fi bing bang boom, Rose and Albert are freed into Rusty Lake, and then because of that sci-fi big bang boom, the future Rose and past Rose are able to exist in one space, or collide together to create this tree. Kind of like what happens at the beginning of Roots, the planting of a seed. All we're missing is the blossom. You know, there was a little brain blast I had back in part 1 that maybe each tree represents a past elevator, similar to what Dale ascends in. Perhaps each of these trees represent a soul's completed journey, or at least a complete rung of the wheel. If you remember, when Dale grants mercy to Mr. Rabbit in Cube Escape Birthday, well, a tree doesn't blossom, but he's absorbed into a tree and then the blossoms come out of the tree. Fast forwarding to Roots, or I guess going back in time to Roots, I think in a sacrilegious way, William sought his new life to be punctuated with the growth of his family tree, planted by James and fruited in the presence of Rose and Laura. But when it comes to Past Within, and this particular blossom tree, or I should say unblossomed tree, I think it's just scraggly, right? It's just the branches right now. Something tells me we haven't completed the picture just yet. I believe Past Within is meant to be a sort of supplementary experience, acting as something that will give some extra oomph to Underground Blossom, but not necessary to appreciate the larger series. And I think this was intentional because of seemingly its inaccessible nature, needing not only another friend to play the game, but a friend who's wanting to play a puzzle game with you. It's a big ask. Still though, for our purposes, I think we should treat it as a sort of, well, depending on your perspective, sequely, prequely, in tandem-y storyline to the far larger premium storytelling experience that is Underground Blossom. Now's your time to make the jump if you haven't already. Get on your Steam account or wherever the heck Rusty Lake is sold, I think at your local retailer, and get your hands on Underground Blossom. While I do think that the games we're going to be covering here in this video, this finale, as less substantial, at least compared to the past 3 videos, that doesn't mean for a lack of depth. Underground Blossom, I think, by far is the most chock-full, stylish labor of love, of gamecraft in the entire series. This is the definitive bow to tie up the Rusty Lake series as we've experienced it thus far. Seriously, if you haven't played a single game, this is the perfect time to get your hands on it, and if you've been paying attention, it's gonna feel nice. It's gonna hit diffy. Now, before we secure our seat on the Underground Blossom, I want to give a couple of fan art shoutouts, as well as one very special shoutout. Thank you to AJ Even on YouTube, or AJ I Shoot Birds on Twitter, for this fantastic drawing of a floppy sausage. Finally, all those nonsensical ordinary sausage references I make are paying off. And also big thank you to this little kind of comic/meme of me essentially trolling Detective Vandermeer. I'm honestly kicking myself that I didn't think to do a meme format like this in my coverage of the Paradox short. Big thank you to Bit Aaron for these 2 wonderful pieces. This first one of the reprised Eye Patch Man known as Clarence, but in the color scheme of the various old OG skit characters of this channel. And the second piece being this wonderful kind of poster-like graphic inspired off of Signalis. I have a sweet spot in my heart for the fan art that really just focuses on the topics I cover. I see my face enough as it is already. Big thank you to Bo Nerpil de Benzine for this great callback to an old joke I made back in the Faith Chapter 3 video. Want to go to Warp Tour? And I believe we've got a fan artist return from Phase Art 136. Big thank you for this wonderful picture inspired off of the game Immortality. You've got the other one and the one facing each other, the apple. There's so many layers to this, and I absolutely love it. Thank you to Shuttle for probably the most faithful adaptation of my likeness in the Rusty Lake universe, the faithfulness being in the style of the Rusty Lake universe. I feel like instead of ripping cubes from people's heads, I would stuff them into their heads and say, keep this in mind. And finally, big thank you to Hurl Buttons on Blue Sky for this magnificent piece of Caroline Islander. I love this. To return the favor to all of you, I want to show you something. Check this out, huh? Isn't that cool? I made this at a paint and sip. They thought I was demented. One of the things I feel like I'll never be able to truly verbalize my gratitude for is the creative contagion that I've had the privilege of witnessing through this channel. Just the fan art. It's combinations of topics covered with other topics, or topics with old skit characters or inside jokes. It's joyfully suffocating, especially when I think about how these various creative formattings would not or may not exist if it weren't for the fact that many of you have given this channel, given me a chance. A lot of you see me, the guy on the camera. I'm the guy behind the camera at the editing suite, all that jazz. This is a one-man operation. But this channel, the way I execute it at least, would not be the way it is if it weren't for the loved ones in my life, the people I grew up alongside. And legit, the biggest contributor to the parts of me that you see the most, the parts of me that pour through the most through this channel, is my dear best friend, Priest. That's his name. It's actually his name. It's pretty cool. There's an intellectual curiosity and stamina that I know for a fact I wouldn't have if it weren't for his patience and the friendship that he nurtured. And so I'm excited to announce that my dear friend Priest and the rest of his team are starting a project called Encyclopedia Prismatica. Encyclopedia Prismatica is a journal made up of artist and author submitted art and literature meant to engage and encourage us to be active participants in the world around us, to not just be observers, but to be creators as well. They've already come out with their first volume to their first edition. And my bestie and I have taken this as an opportunity to sort of slam our two operations together and see what comes out of it. And so I present to you the floppy edition. Check this shit out. It's the same thing, volume 1, issue 1. If you were to get the original edition, you would not be missing out on anything. The only thing that's different is, of course, the cover, some accoutrements in between, of course, the different pages, and there's a foreword written by me, which, to be honest with you, is small potatoes compared to some of the good stuff that's in here. So this particular edition has a lot of poetry in it, and two specific parts that come to mind that I really liked. There was 5 poems from Book 3 by Elizabeth King, and then there's 5 visual poems by J.I. Kleinberg. Here we go. This is the one. It's giving King in Yellow, but it's also kind of making my skin crawl, reminding me that I'm eventually gonna have to cover House of Leaves. Let's focus on the positive. Now, the floppy edition is limited, but please don't treat this like a limited merch run. The value from this journal is not from the collaboration of two besties, but the contributions from the great authors and artists found within. Supporting Encyclopedia Prismatica will allow them to platform more artists in the future through more volumes, through more editions, art of which I hope many of you will contribute. If I may show my hand here, of course, I do want you to support my good friends over at Encyclopedia Prismatica, but even more so, I really want to see some of your guys' art in their upcoming editions. So please, if you can't grab one yourself, follow them on their social medias, their websites, and keep your eye out around early November for when they open submissions again. Because in this edition, they were starved for graphic art. And based on all these fan art segments, I know there are plenty of you out there who would love to get your stuff seen. And I would love to look in the next edition and see if I can recognize you guys by your art styles alone. But yes, if this limited run gets depleted, or you'd like to save some money, you can use discount code FLOPPY to get 50% off your purchase of the original non-floppy edition. Thank you all so much to the fan artists out there that continue to inspire me with every submission, and to all of you, please support my good friends over at Prismatica. They deserve it. Now, let's go ahead and purchase our ticket and get it punched in the Underground Blossom. The start menu establishes the train station setting. There's a briefcase to our right that's locked. This will contain some hints for post-game content. Of course, even just freshly cracking open this game, we have blossoms falling to the ground. I'm suddenly reminded of the game menu to a sequel of a beloved top-down shooter game. Props to anybody who knows what I'm talking about. And sorry for reminding you of that. Let's get started. Entering the Underground Blossom line, we are just... You know what? I'll just let it play out. So we enter our first level, Crib Station, of course when Laura was just a baby.
I'm glad you're here. This is my daughter Laura. Please take care of her.
It's Rose. She's wearing that Deva timepiece necklace from Roots. And hey, she confirms that Laura is indeed her daughter. Now this part. Come on, they can't just sucker punch me like this, man. The piano music, baby Laura soundly asleep. Either I'm a big baby or the art direction of this game is on point. Tapping on Laura's head causes her to fuss, unlocking a secret achievement.
Oh, she got like a little halo too. I think that's more just a thing. Now we can pull this down, but she's gonna get cold, and I don't want to make her cold. So let's go find herself a diaper. I can tell you that right now. I don't want to make her cold.
I get so attached to these characters. Strange that there's a black trauma moth in Rose's suitcase. We collect our various implements, witness our train leaving, and bother the ticket master.
We can't. This is good.
Ticket to the next station. 1 coin, please. Ticket to the next station. Ticket 1 coin, to please. The next station. Ticket to 1 the coin, next please. Station. Ticket to 1 the coin, next please. Station. Ticket to the 1 next coin, station. Please. 1 coin, please.
The show starts when the 1 coin, please. Enough.
Giving Laura milk and tossing her soiled diaper into the trash and lighting it on fire, it explodes, revealing a paint scraper, which we use to scrape off a Rusty Lake ad to find a message. The future will arrive, and then parts of a Deva Sanskrit symbol that we must click on Rose's timepiece. Doing so gets us a time to adjust the station clock too.
Oh, it's really nice thing.
Ticket, please.
You look kind of familiar. But he could just be an old man.
Ticket to the next station. 1 coin, please.
We pay for our ticket.
There you go. Have a nice journey.
It's great. I love it. Journey.
And with a gloved hand, get our ticket punched by this clearly Mr. Crow-coded porter. I wonder who we are playing as. In the train car, we see that the Black Moth has hitched a ride with us.
All right, bye, Rose. Ooh, there's a little moth here.
This early level isn't super important, but it has a couple of interesting details. First off, Rose has held on to that timepiece from Roots. If you remember, the golden timepiece had the word Deva on it. Another word for a sort of demigod or even a godlike figure in the samsara, wheel of realms. Right now, from where I'm standing, I would say that this signifies a sort of a MacGuffin-like artifact that gives its wearer or user godlike powers, or deigns it with godlike station, maybe. Also, we can peg Crib Station to either 1935, the year of Laura's birth, or maybe a year ahead, so 36. If you remember, she was born in the Roots event in Rusty Lake Roots, the very last event before you unlock any secret ones. So another small detail real quick, she has that, of course, that very iconic cube pattern on her blanket, but this could also be the swaddling cloth that she was in when we see her at the end of Roots. But something more to chew on. The fact that this first level is called Crib Station will flesh out to reveal to us that each of these levels are different stages of Laura's life. This one, Crib, of course, being when she was a baby. Let's keep an open mind about these levels. Are these one-to-one representations of various train station visits that Laura made throughout her life? Or are these train station themed representations, substances, if you will, of her past life? Sort of walk through memory lane. Or memory line, train line that is. Something to think about, we'll keep that in mind. Next stop, Child Lane.
All right. Ah, look at her. She's so cute. She's so adorable. All right.
You have made it to this year. I don't want to leave her, but I might have to. Please protect her, also in the years to come.
Might leave her, huh? But why? And who is Rose trusting Laura's guardianship with? Well, Laura has a request.
I want candy.
So, okay, tell me, what is this? What do you think this is? It looks like a knob, right? But no, it's gum. And even worse, that's the candy we're gonna be giving her.
The music kicks in again, I hold back tears, Laura hides, and we solve a poster puzzle clicking items from smallest to largest until we find a key. I like the large, creepy smile that the man has. Makes me want to hand him over to FEMA. Now, with the key, we unlock the phone booth, piping in some more inquisitive piano music, and turning around, we find Laura's first hiding spot.
Oh, she's hiding. That's adorable.
We collect a poster and talk to the bald, or I should say balding, man.
What does he want?
Any news?
News.
Hands off.
All right, for sure.
We'll have to distract him if we want to pick his front pocket. He looks like Dr. O from White Door, which is fitting given his proximity to this Mr. Owl statue. We see our train leave, find Laura's second hiding spot, and click through a very simple second poster puzzle.
Smile, sparkling eyes, new bracelet, new hair, large eyes, bigger smile, surprise! That's f***ed up. Emergency, call 53114. All right, 53114. 53114. Oh.
Look what I found.
Thank you, Laura. This is the best part. Here, this is so cute.
Blah. Blah.
She's so, yeah, it's just adorable. I love Kid Laura so much. Man.
We solve a glass art puzzle, use a crank to open a photo service, and click its sign a bunch to unlock an achievement. The attendant peeks his hand up saying, "I'm not here."
I am not here.
Okay, fine. Oh wait, who is that actually? Hold on. Do we know who that is?
We give a newspaper to the bald man and rearrange some images to news titles. As far as I know, these are just references to past Rusty Lake events, not pegging them to this current day of our timeline. We've got a reference to Dale's 9th birthday, the Rusty Lake Hotel, the immortal dog from Roots, the bedroom in Arl painting, and Johnson Bird Food Factory. With the pictures and titles properly arranged, we steal a coin from the balding man, solve a logical shape puzzle to attain a ticket, and call the number from the poster.
Hello, I am glad you called. The mother, as you will come get there.
It's hard to hear, but it sounds like that's Dale. So someone is coming together and she knows. So what's about to happen, she's aware of.
Hold on, I previously said that voice is Dale, but it could also be Albert's reverse speech. I mean, listen, the two characters are linked to the deer, so perhaps their corrupted souls sound the same for that reason. However, for reasons we are very shortly about to witness, this is very much likely Albert. So we'd look into the eyes of the owl, pry open a little space, find a code, unlock a suitcase, and find a camera.
Here we go, camera. If you remember, that was something that we saw in as early as the first seasons, as earliest seasons. This is a memory of that. All right, here we go. Oh.
Mommy? What is happening?
Of course, it has to be Dale because he's wearing a fucking deer head. I mean, it's not exactly the same deer head, but
forgive him. Again, I recorded these even before I uploaded the first Rusty Lake video. This is very clearly Albert Vanderboom, or at least his corrupted soul. He says, "She has to come with me. The girl is on her own." And then he absconds with our dear mother Rose.
Mommy? What is happening?
my dear friend, I wish I never had to leave her. I love my daughter more than anything in the world, but I know we both have to follow our own path. Please hold this timepiece close. It will protect her in the future. Rose.
I wonder what properties of the timepiece protects Laura. Perhaps an ability to reverse time? Deva godlike powers? Well, Laura secludes herself in the owl statue's foundation, dropping some film. We open a panel, solve another glass art puzzle, securing a clock hand, and then inquire about getting those bogos binted.
Bogos binted?
Put the film roll in the box.
This part is so fun.
Put the film roll in the box.
Can I get some fucking service here?
Put the film roll in the box.
Okay, but... Alright, but I need... Do you need, like, my information? I gotta pay for anything up front or give you my card?
Come back in 20 minutes.
Okay, but... Okay, whatever, man. Fuck you.
We roll the clock forward 20 minutes, and looking at our developed photos, mind you, photos that Laura just took, standing in front of us, we see a familiar silhouette. Harvey's silhouette. So that's who we are playing as. I think this gives some more flavor to the role of Harvey. In the beginning of our journey in Rusty Lake, he seemed like just a pet of Laura. And then by the time we get to Rusty Lake Hotel, he seems to occupy the role of a peon for Mr. Owl. However, despite his role as a pet and as a henchman, here he has far more agency, a clear alliance with Rose and Laura, a friendship, or perhaps a servant to the lake.
We are playing as Harvey. Alright, cool. Which is awesome, because I like Harvey. Okay, so, Johnson! We gotta do 4:05.
We input the time and enter the train.
Ticket, please. Mind the gap.
We have a kid here, foreshadowing the next one.
Something that's very easy to take for granted is really the abandonment that Laura must have experienced in those events. Again, full transparency, I don't think that these are perfect one-to-one reliving of actual events. This didn't have to take place in a train station. But nonetheless, a traumatic experience was seated in the mind, in the memories of Laura Vanderboom. Witnessing this dark, creepy form taking your mother away. Her being left with Harvey is kind of corroborated in his presence in Seasons. Albeit in Seasons he's in his, pure animal form. Not sure about the logistics of having a half bird, half man as your guardian when it comes to like social services and stuff like that. What would the social worker even say? How would he have explained himself? Right? I play Saints Row. I mean, it wouldn't even, the only cope I can think of doesn't even work because Laura was born in what, 1935? So this would be like sometime in the 1940s. So long before furries were even a thing. So there goes that explanation.
Street. Let's get it. Chapter 3. Oh man, that's so cool. They grow up so fast.
I'm filled with pride, but also worry. Is this what being an unk feels like? We pick up a peanut and fold a nearby mean-spirited doodle of Laura into a paper plane. Perhaps our beloved niece is being bullied. She says,
"Someone stole my photos."
so somebody stole her photos. Although it's nice to know that she's continued her hobby from childhood. We solve a puzzle to get this level's ticket and open a tin for some sausages. We have all of our implements. Let's go ahead and get this ball rolling by talking to this boy with glasses.
Help me with my book, and I will give you something.
So, Sam is in love with Johnny, Tess hates sausages, Frankie stole something from Alex, Bobby's afraid of airplanes, Jimmy has a peanut allergy, Laura is always alone. Of course we know who Laura is. Okay, so we got a few things we can already kind of parse out. If we give the peanut to this guy, it looks fucking hilarious. So that's the guy with the peanut allergy. This is the lady who's afraid of airplanes. If we look inside their pockets, we can find an earring that belongs to this gal.
What do you want from me?
And then, okay, gotcha. So, hold on.
What do you want from me?
So this guy has a crush on this guy. I believe she doesn't like sausages. Okay, gotcha. The noise is so funny.
Solving this puzzle, the 9 photos glimmer, and this reveals the name of this boy as Hank.
Give me a peanut, and I will give you something.
That wasn't a part of the deal.
Give me a paper plane, and I will give you something.
Buddy, I helped you with your book.
Give me a sausage, and I will give you something.
Whatever. You know what? It's to prevent you from just skipping.
Okay, you earned this. One moment. Use it wisely.
We give the worm to a crow, and it knocks an egg on Johnny.
Shut up, Johnny.
That was for an achievement. Now let's see what's inside Johnny's bag.
That's fucked up. All right. So we gotta find the coin, the code for this. We got a pencil sharpener. We got a cigar, not good, and then a hypnosis marble on a stick, no, a lollipop. So we got.
We deduce the lengths and thus the secret code of this notebook, revealing Johnny as the ruffian that stole Laura's photo book.
We have here, of course, that's us. It's Harvey, and it's Lara. These fries are Laurable. We give the photos.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
It's
Lara.
all I have left of my mother. You can leave now. Your train arrives at 2:45.
All right. Bye, Lara. Stay in school. If any one of you, if any single one of you hurt Lara, I will write a video essay on you.
Ticket, please.
Anything in your pocket? No?
Get in, please.
All right, all right. Over here, we have a guy who's going to be running a little store. He's a store guy. He's a store-bought man. He's a storeman.
Laura's graduated from school. She's not such a fool anymore.
It's a pity. Not only did Laura experience the isolation, the alienation of losing her mother, and the mysterious circumstances regarding this absconding, this abandonment, but evidently it seems that she's experiencing another form of isolation, alienation from her peers in her teenage years. The mistreatment even getting to the point of them stealing her belongings, and a very precious belonging, mind you, a photo of her mother, the last preserved memory, square-shaped, mind you, the photo of that fateful day. It's all that she has left of her mother. And how thematically interesting, huh? Oh man, she's preserving this memory, and it's a traumatic memory. It's a bad memory. It's even made worse because you got that creepy ass shadow deer dude taking your mother away, but it's the only thing she has left, clinging on to this cube-shaped form of posterity. Keep this in mind because there's going to be a little bit of a very easy to overlook subplot to Underground Blossom that I think it's just an awesome, just very, very like a bow on top of what I consider to be the definitive Laura Rusty Lake game. But I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Let's press forward. All right, next stop, Bird Bridge Station. Fascinating. This particular stop is not pegged to any sort of life stage like baby cribs, childhood, school street, but just birds. Bird Bridge Station. And speaking of stations, the man sitting in the train cart with us will be taking his station at a little kiosk when we get off. We'll be meeting him again soon. But first, let's tend to our human niece. Why did I have to clarify that she's a human?
I have to finish my sketch.
She needs a pencil. A pencil. Boggle tournament.
We attain a pencil and a piece of a sausage. Scribbling in our sketchbook, we can pick up our scribble, turning it into a line, like a fishing line. I do want to point out something very sad here. It's likely been more than a decade since Laura last saw her mother Rose. This photo of her standing beside this grotesque shade is all she has left of her. A square containing a lone memory. Laura's sketching of her mother, referencing this lone image, perhaps is a desperate attempt at posterity. Is that the right term, posterity, or like copying it for the sake of posterity? I feel like there's a better word for that. But nonetheless, I just hope that these two can eventually reunite. If not in this life, I hope at the very least in the next. Turning around, the kiosk is open. Let's see what the nice old man has for sale.
Good morning. We have fresh sandwiches and a most delicious coffee. Make your choice.
I fiddle with a lock, assemble some of our fishing implements, and see a photo of the Lady of the Lake, or at least the Lady of the Lake singer. Holding onto the image, we get a sequence of notes. Requesting the sequence from the trumpeter, he sings this tune, or plays this tune.
So we'll have more tunes to give him. The fish coughs out a does the fish have lungs? I know it has gill. Gill secretes. I get over here. Hey! That's my fucking sausage. Johnson! We are hiring. Join our team at Johnson Bird Food Factory. We guarantee a welcoming team, an exciting working environment, and a daily drop-off at Bird Bridge Street at 5 o'clock.
We set the time knowing full well who we are going to see arrive from this clocked-out Johnson Bird Food workforce.
It's Bob! Wait, Bob?
That woman. I've seen her before.
Have I seen him before? Have I seen him before?
Now, there's a bit of confusion in Gameplay Chris's voice, and that's exacerbated when the two lovebirds vaguely recognize each other. Is Bird Bridge Street or Bird Bridge Station taking place after the events of the White Door? I don't think so. Depending on how you define after. Crap. First of all, these memories that are taking place take the form of this train station. These are train-themed or station-themed retellings. Bird Bridge Station invokes the bird memory in the White Door. After all, it too involves Laura sketching in her book and the two meeting for the first time. But there is this ambiguity to if they have met before. For now, just for now, let's just see this as representing the events of when the two first met. But we'll keep an open mind and allow this to play out. Listen, all this being caught up in theorizing, I'm happy to see Bob. A shady man asks us for a dart, and we solve a sort of salaryman Where's Waldo.
Brown suitcase. Man with a hard hat. Okay, gotcha. Tie. Kind of looks snazzy without a tie.
Solving the sequence, Robert gives us money to buy him a sandwich and coffee. Delivering the coffee to Laura, we find a cigarette in her cup. Gross. Delivering the sandwich to Robert, we must remove worms from it. Double gross.
Much better. Here, take these crumbs.
Oh, because I'm a bird? Because I'm a bird, I'm gonna eat crumbs.
Does she remember me?
Okay, so he seems to recognize her. Perhaps this train journey is Laura reliving her past life. Emphasis on the re in reliving. And both she and Rob have hitched a ride on this trajectory. He remembers her, but does she remember him? Well, we deliver the ciggy to the strange man.
Thanks. One last question. Do you have the time?
And he steals our stuff, specifically our timepiece, screwdriver, and bone saw, brother. Well, at least we got a really cool, what do you call it, leitmotif of Nacien? Or is that Gymnopedia? I always forget which one it is.
Sorry for robbing you. Stop right there, criminal scum.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. With the paperclip, we unlock some sort of audio interface.
Oh, paperclip on the lock. All right, this is an interesting one. So we have to kind of create the numbers. The numbers, Mason, what do they mean? Ah, we got it.
Interacting with the intercom, we get a message about pickpockets and a new sequence of notes.
Filthy pickpocket, what did you take?
Please keep a close eye on your personal belongings. There are pickpockets active.
Let's make a request to the trumpeter.
You really should get that checked out. This is cute. I really like this. Oh, fuck. Fuck.
The bird gives us a new tune and the trumpeter makes reply.
Howdy. There's a whole ass arm in there? Talk about right to bear arms.
I remember you.
Confusing. And even more confusing when we see all the past transpired events in her sketchbook. We've got Rose, of course, and then we've got the trees in the park with Rob's silhouette, along with his corrupted soul. We have Mr. Owl's statue with the red bleeding eyes, and that robin from the white door. And of course, the robin that, for the second time, is bringing the lovebirds together. We've got that sketch of Rusty Lake Hotel, specifically the sketch from the secret scene of the bird memory. We've got the school kids, their faces very blank and creepy. We've got a dead tree, but I believe this is the tree that we see at the end of Past Within, so perhaps a future memory. And an eye, likely Laura's eye, with a red teardrop. Finally, we have Harvey in his cage, and a riddle that simply gives us a clue as to what time to move the clock towards. Doing so, we give the two lovebirds their privacy. I believe I missed an achievement here, but no worries, we'll be back.
All right. You know, you look a lot like a friend of mine.
Ticket, please. Enjoy your ride.
Before heading off into Sorrow Cross Station, I want to make note of a couple of things. First off, Laura is sketching a portrait of her mother. Specifically, a portrait that has removed all of these traumatic peripherals from that photo, that snapshot of a traumatic memory. So we have two, roughly square-shaped objects of posterity going from traumatic to cleansed and focusing on the good. Are we not already familiar with this process? The going from black memory to white memory, the cleansing of a memory. Not changing the past, but taking inventory, purging the negativity. Through repetition, copying. We make sense of things. The fully transcribed memory in that sketch only focusing on the good. I also wanted to emphasize something that's easy to overlook in Birdbridge Station that'll help make sense of this entire framing of Underground Blossom. I believe that this scene where Laura and Robert are sitting on this bench in this train station, not in a park, mind you, is not the first time they met. It's not a representation of the first time they met. It's a rhyme, sure, but I believe this is a reuniting of the two lovebirds in this sort of abstract soul journey, a sort of fulfillment of the promise that Laura made. Perhaps we will meet in another life, but instead of another incarnation, another separate life, they are meeting one last time, reuniting one last time in transit to their next life. And so naturally, with a second coming together, there has to be a second breakup. Our next stop is Sorrow Cross. A pigeon flaps across the screen inside of our cart, and when the doors open, we can see what the sorrow in Sorrow Cross is referring to. Robert and Laura are going to clearly break up.
Bob, you have to go. We both need to follow our own path. Please leave me behind. Your train leaves at 4.
It's tempting to interpret this as representing their first breakup. That took place in the Owl Nest Diner. However, what if this is a second breakup, taking place in a sort of transmigration of both Laura and Robert's soul? She doesn't say that she needs to leave to Rusty Lake or that she isn't well. She just says that Robert needs to leave and that they need to go on their own two paths. Something to think about for sure. We set the clock to 4 and Robert leaves us.
Please take care of her. She is not well.
Oh, well, I guess Robert says she isn't well. Nonetheless, he drops his wallet, and inside we find some cash and even a business card for the White Door. Fitting. With the cash, we buy some snacks and do a category sorting puzzle.
Things with wheels, animal, animal. Snacks, snacks. Things with wheels, things with wheels. Snacks. Things with wheels, things with wheels. Things with wheels, things with wheels. Snacks, snacks. Animal, things with wheels, things with wheels, things with animals. Cookie? Cookie? Okay, so this puzzle's very interesting in that I fucking hate it. Things with wheels. All right, so we got flies over 2, flies over 1, flies over 1. Duh, duh. Oh fuck!
Here's to hoping that was a reincarnation of Mrs. Pigeon. Baby Bird sends their regards, motherfucker. With the key, we confront the thief and hear his request.
We want your stuff back. Leave some money under the bench. Come back at 9. I'll leave your stuff in the same place.
Doing so, we find a bag with a note.
I like the timepiece too much. Haha. Find an asshole.
Bastard. We'll meet again, hopefully in this life, not the next. Now with our returned hacksaw, we open a padlock and find a circular piece of a mosaic puzzle. The puzzle is a sort of I Spy game. We find the floating rose, the blossom tree, and the floating older rose, Rose the Elder. We find Harvey, a nondescript silhouette, could be Dale, could be Albert, could just be a corrupted soul. We find the Rusty Lake Rowboat Man, I believe linked to Mr. Crow in earlier games, but could just be a logo Easter egg. We find a couple birds, Rusty Lake Hotel, and the elevator that carried Dale. Very interesting. And finally, we find a black and white cube, just floating in the lake. Once completed, our trash can tips over. I like to think that we were standing on it. Now, we complete a matching puzzle and find a letter.
And that's what we're talking about. Laura Vanderboom. Dear Miss Vanderboom, here is the medicine I discussed with you during our last appointment. This medicine will not cure you. Your fears are too deeply rooted in your past. It will, however, give you the insights that you are seeking. From Dr. Clark.
Dr. Clark from the White Door. So was Laura a patient? Or is this just a narrative being told with familiar cast members and motifs and whatnot? Regardless, this description of the pill being told to give insights is a bit odd. I feel like an antidepressant like Prozac or anything else may stabilize one's mood so that they can independently seek insight, but the insight doesn't come from the pill itself. Dr. Clark? More like Dr. Quack.
All right, Laura, so I got a pill here for you. So you just want to, I could get you some water if you got some change. I could just go get you something from the vending machine. All right. I mean, listen, I changed your diapers, so whatever. Fine. You big baby. Whoa!
We enter a very cool puzzle sequence. Based on what Laura says, it seems to be somehow linked to her dreams, but more importantly, we are surrounded in the trees. Perhaps this is hell. She first says,
I dream of my mother. She holds me as a baby.
We give Rose the baby. The next riddle.
I dream of poor Bob. He holds his broken heart. Bob.
Oh.
And so we give Robert the broken heart. The next riddle.
I dream of myself as a little girl and my mother. While she holds my hand, I hold her face.
And so we hand the hand to Rose and hand the head to little Laura. The next riddle.
I dream of the detective.
Huh?
He is there with a large fish.
Hey, look at that. Bob's a big tit head. Well, we'll keep moving this fish along until we find... he's just standing there looking like a sick animation character. Oh, you boys just missed it. The past is never the past. It's not even... Wait, no, fuck, I fucked it up. Ah, f*** it, here's a fish. Hey, Laura, was that your 2 milligram of Prozac in the fridge? I believe it was. Ah, jeez, I'm sorry, Laura. Harvey funneled it.
Damn, so the joke that I made in part 3 wasn't even original. Gameplay Chris said it first, it seems.
I dream of a bird holding a rat, and then I see the corrupted soul.
Uh-oh.
With the head of my mother.
Uh-oh.
What happened to her?
So we hand the rat to Robin Rob. Oh, that's why he's a Robin. And we give the head of Rose to Albert's corrupted soul. The next riddle.
I dream of my mother. She has grown old. She holds a black cube. I dream of my mother.
Okay, black cube.
We give the black cube to Rose the Elder and end our dream.
Is she still alive? Where did she go? Will I ever know?
Ah! The fuck? Just like from Case 23.
Fascinating. There's quite a bit here. So here we are at Sorrow's Cross. Robert has to leave Laura so that she could continue her soul journey through this transit of stations. It's fitting that Sorrow's Cross would end not just with her corruption, but her delving into this hellish dream forest. A forest made up of vignettes, substances of her past life. The grandfather that raised her mother, the mother that raised her, the man she fell in love with, the man who investigated her death, and her trusty parrot that will be guiding her through these stations. It's all, you know, even though the context or connotation of this red forest is scary, it's actually kind of, I don't know, there's a sweetness to it. And while at the time I was concerned to see Laura laid out, just like in Case 23, becoming corrupted, now knowing what we know about this strange forest, this stage of cleansing that's around the corner, there's something kind of comforting about that. Let's not get too presumptuous though. Laura is still corrupted and we still need that timepiece. We find Laura's final draft of her portrait of Rose. Very sweet. Using the pigeon blood, we deduce a time and prepare for our next trip.
Next stop? Burlington.
Ticket, please.
Don't click that at me. That's good shit. Sound design in this game makes me want to fart.
My favorite passenger.
Normally, I'm used to you being on a boat. Aha, so Dale is there. And then there's this guy that got fucking his shit pushed in by Bob. The corrupted Bob, I should say. This sounds like the intro to like a movie about a guy that makes chocolate.
I think I covered everything I wanted to say about Sorrow Cross. But while we're here, we should add this question to our final questions whiteboard. What is the forest? Entering the next station, we have Soul Street. Fittingly, we have a black rat with glowing white eyes skittering on by. Exiting the train before us is a writhing black mass. To the left we have a poster titled The Dead Woman, of course with Laura depicted. I wonder where her corrupted soul is.
Just keep looking around. Bye! Hi! This is a fun puzzle. And by fun, I mean fun.
We guide the trauma moth, grab a crowbar, blow up a barrel of oil, secure a key, and feed the moth to the writhing black mass. The corrupted soul says, "The butterfly, I remember." The voice is oddly masculine. It continues, "Please help me. You have to find my mother's timepiece." So this has to be Laura's corrupted soul. But why does she sound like Albert's soul? Maybe all souls sound like this in Underground Blossom's depiction. Well, luckily the culprit to our missing timepiece mystery is all tied up in this utility area.
Aha! Fancy meeting you here. Okay, we pulled the duct tape off. That's why he's like mad.
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say to you.
Well, yeah. Eric Satie is playing, so whatever. Hey, you know what? Go f yourself.
Sorry for having to censor all of this. YouTube is a temperamental beast, and I really would like to move out of my parents' basement. But yes, in Rusty Lake fashion, we are able to partake in slapstick regarding this man's mammalian conical protrusions. He's not willing to give up any info regarding the timepiece, so we do some puzzling to redirect electricity.
And then we got the people who refused to release Half-Life 3.
And we redirect the electricity. Oh. Now this I will have to censor, because we will be breaking the Godiva Convention.
Just the Geneva Convention.
Huh? Aw, so there's not going to be any chocolate?
No chocolate, just torture.
Well, can we get some chocolate anyways?
Chris, do yourself a favor. Don't show this. Censor this, okay? Unalive, segs, sewer slide, all that shit, okay? We're gonna...
I can be a seething bitch sometimes. No, in all seriousness, what I find the most compelling about this slightly comical but also messed up torture scene is that it reminds us of the character we're playing as, Harvey. He's lovable, iconic, but the other times we play as him, we're killing the various animal guests of Rusty Lake Hotel. However, to be fair, at least in this circumstance, he's only doing this because the timepiece belongs to the girl, now woman, now corrupted soul, that we were deigned to protect. Remember what Rose said, keep this timepiece, it will keep her safe, or something like that. But yes, he tells us the location of the key to find the timepiece, which is behind the hand of this poster. We open the locker and looking at the thief's tattoos, we deduce the code and find the timepiece. The time spins and spins until it breaks. We find the corrupted soul standing at the arrived train. It says, "You found it, and it's time to leave this place."
Leave this place.
Alright, so, this is fun. I think this is my stop.
Nice. Very nice. We've arrived. Stepping out with our ward, she has some parting words for us. "This is where I belong. I remember now. The tree." And then... a little echo from Paradox, I feel. "Look behind you." But yes, clicking on the various moths for an achievement and turning around we see it. The blossom tree. The two roses of the past and future emerge from the tree.
Finally, you have found me. I belong to the lake now. My past and future self. My daughter. I know she can live another life. She can still blossom. This is how I left the other world, an old woman. But I belong to the lake now. I am enlightened. A tree among others.
Ooh, bingo, bingo, bingo. I am enlightened. A tree among others. Listen, I'm half past Gestalterfall right now. Didn't I say something about these trees being possible completed journeys? I think I said it in this video already, and I'm pretty sure as shit I said it in the first video. However, in that case, I was likening them to elevators, but still, nuts. But here, let me play out the rest and we can discuss further.
Help my daughter. She can still blossom.
That's just fucking nuts, dude. And so you see the blossoms, right? They were in the beginning of the game, so it's like a loop kind of thing too, you know? This is cool. I love this sequence.
Will I ever know? Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Finally, I can see the blossom. My mother, I know she's here for me. I can live another life without sorrow. The lake belongs to me. My dear Harvey, take the train and find your own future.
Bye, Laura. I guess. And so, Harvey would go on to travel the world, chronicling his adventures. He would fight crime, aid and abet in crime. He would document crime. He would glorify crime. He would stigmatize crime. Yeah, Johnson!
Jeez, what an ending. So let's real quick go through what just happened. We saw Laura go through a cycle of various life stages over and over again. We saw something identical at the end of Roots, with that scene of William possibly reincarnating as Laura. We have the implication of the repetitive cycles and paradox, and I feel like there's a lot of other examples, but again, half past Gestalterfall here. It's all starting to mush together. But yes, we have an ever cycling of these phases, and what I feel is particularly fascinating is we have an elder Laura in that cycle. An elder Laura that, although we did meet her in Paradox, was still a Laura that never came to pass because of her death in 1971. Now, I've mentioned this in previous videos. I always like to go into topics as dry as possible. I don't convene with wikis outside of factual stuff or confirming peripheral details that may have been missed. I don't watch other theory videos or commentary from creators, and this is to make my analysis, flaws and all, as original as possible, maximizing the chances that we make novel breakthroughs. However, one thing that infiltrated when I would quickly convene with the Wikia to refresh my memory on the dates or the years of certain events, I noticed that the writer or collaborators in the Wikia talk about the two roses being roses from different timelines, which, you know, I'm very glad I never thought of that possibility. It sounds like a nightmare to organize. But in all seriousness, we could look at the presence of the elder Laura as a Laura from a different timeline being introduced into the unification and cycling. However, I believe this is supposed to just signify the whole of the soul, the completion of Laura's personal journey, the balancing of the substances of her past life, so that her corrupted soul can be cleansed and she can be born anew. Underground Blossom is so freaking good. It's not the kind of game that we've been playing from the beginning where there's these big lore reveals and the story is unfolding in ways. If anything, we're going over stuff that we are already quite familiar with, the life of Laura Vanderboom. In a way, it's sort of a final message to her dear friend Harvey, and by extension, I think, us, the player, to not worry about Laura anymore, not fuss about this mystery of what happened to Laura Vanderboom anymore, to not go down the path of Dale, wherever the hell he's at. She's safe. She's home, in the lake with her mother, in her birthright, that is, Rusty Lake. Underground Blossom, to me, is the definitive telling of Laura Vanderboom's soul journey. We see the steps that we are very familiar with in all of these stations throughout this line, this travel, this transit. A memory is preserved of her mother, tainted with trauma, with mystery, confusion, but petrified within that resin of pain, there's that nugget of joy, my dear, sweet, lost mother. And just like with the process of seeing those cubes go from black to white, being purified, sorted out, we see this memory captured, preserved, transcribed, and purified of the mystery, purified of the pain, the scariness of Albert. And similarly to all of the soul sojourners in Rusty Lake, Laura goes through her own personal hell and sorrow's cross, balancing the substances of her past life. Remember, at the end of that level, she becomes corrupted. It's a bit, reversey kind of thing, but nonetheless, there is that marrying of the forest, disparate substances of the past life, boyfriend, parent, mom, grandpa, detective, and that, of course, corrupted soul. And while there isn't, as far as I can recall, a elixir of life and death, you do have all the various elements. Oh, we're not there yet, are we? Never mind, we might have a little bit of a, I hope I don't forget. There's gonna be a box that we're gonna play around with cubes that represent different elements. And at the very end of our journey with Underground Blossom, there is gonna be there is a symbolic elixir of life and death, because if you remember in Rusty Lake Roots, the elixir of life and death was concocted with all those various elements, Doodle God style. But nonetheless, I think the major MacGuffin just with the upfront Underground Blossom story is not an elixir, but that timepiece. And to be honest with you, something tells me that the timepiece, its purpose is a lot more simpler or explained throughout the series, and it just completely went over my head. So a failure on my part in this finale. But if I were just to kind of spitball and kind of guess what I think this timepiece represents, perhaps it's some sort of birthright of having domain over time. Rose is very much this sort of matriarch of time, occupying the past and the future, and perhaps her daughter is the ever-present. Perhaps we have a sort of a queendom, of time in Rusty Lake, a dynasty being established. Aside from that, though, I do find it kind of interesting how, despite the timepiece, at least to me, being representative of this sort of villainous past of the Vanderboom family, representative of William Vanderboom's desire to sort of pervert his dynasty, to create this vessel that he can occupy, despite this villainy, this token is a token of guardianship, at least according to Rose. Something that will protect Laura. And it's no mystery as to, the fact that when we lose that timepiece, everything falls apart in this story. But anyways, I'm rambling, but I'm kind of reminded a bit of Twin Peaks, that ring in Twin Peaks. It's ambiguous. Is this a token of guardianship, or is this some sort of a curse? A family curse. Yeah. Anyways, that's the game itself, the story that it may be telling. Again, this is all very interpretive. But I kind of want to just take one more moment, at least when it comes to Underground Blossom, to appreciate the story being told implicit in the gameplay, the protagonist that we are playing as. To me, somewhat like Laura, in a way, Harvey is a character that's kind of beyond time, or at least set aside from time. I'm under the impression that he even predates Aldous Vanderboom's becoming of Mr. Crow, and perhaps thusly Jacob Islander's becoming of Mr. Owl. And I think Harvey will live beyond any and all further or future iterations of Mr. Owl, Mr. Crow, the Lady of the Lake. While other characters, other soul sojourners are pegged to characters, archetypes, or just rhyming patterns, Harvey just simply is. And so, as a guide, as a custodian of the natural order that is Rusty Lake, he must have seen many souls come and go. And here we have Laura, somebody special to us as Harvey. And we have to send her off into her destiny, her eternity, her next life, or her purpose of Rusty Lake, while we stay here in our static station. Underground Blossom I think, is that final ride with Laura. That definitive experience that if there's ever a time where we miss this series, we miss Laura Vanderboom, we don't have to go to Seasons, we don't have to go to the lake or anything like that. We can just come to Underground Blossom. And just like how she has that photo of her mom, that last memory of her, Underground Blossom is that last memory of Laura for Harvey. I have all this shit written down here. I don't need that anymore. That was great. That was great. That was fucking great. Sometimes you just gotta go off script. I'm confident now. I think, and I said this so many times, Underground Blossom is my favorite game in all the series. Now, we've got quite a bit of post-credits exploration to do. With the completion of the game, we've unlocked an underground map, allowing us to traverse the levels freely, not only to pick up any achievements we missed, but also to follow a new lead found within this letter.
Dear Harvey, if you read this letter, you have successfully accompanied Laura on her journey. But I have another task for you. Please, meet me at the lake, Mr. Owl.
I take a gander at my achievements and decide it's best to go straight to Mr. Owl first. When we get to the lake, we see Mr. Owl sitting at the bench in his nautical diver suit. Perhaps he needs it because we are technically at the bottom of the lake at the moment.
Please collect all the cubes. One cube in every station. So, we will meet again. Use your items wisely.
So, in every station there is a secret that we must find in the form of these cubes. In the box we already have 2 of the cubes, a glass cube and an iron one, I believe. These are identical to the cubes we found in Paradox, the missing one here being a wooden one. Now this challenge is very fun, and if you haven't given it a shot, I highly recommend it. But for this recording session I used App Unwrapper's guide just for the sake of efficiency. Again, big thanks to the OG guide writers of the internet. Now, Mr. Owl hands us a coin, telling us to use our items wisely. The coin points us towards Sorrow Cross, where we use the vending machine. Putting the coin into the machine, the only thing we can afford is this nut bar. This puzzle piece will be used on that kid with a nut allergy. But first, there was a strange panel in the back of this metal storage. Prying it open with a crowbar reveals a 3x3 pattern. I recall a puzzle using a 3x3 pattern in one of the earlier levels. Well, let's just go ahead and follow the nut bar lead. Reminding ourselves that we are playing as the mischievous Harvey, we go full-blown anaphylactic on this kid, and he wheezes a tune. Over in Birdbridge Street, we give that tune to the trumpetador. But first I spam notes to get a missed achievement, which just reveals a butterfly. But now let's do the proper EpiPen swing. We get our first cube, a stone cube. With a crowbar, we open up a mouse hole and find a $50 bill. This affords us a donut at the kiosk.
There you go.
And giving the donut to Rob, he tells us,
Donut, my favorite. Have you seen that mysterious person? She visits the Red Tile Station at noon.
Red Tile Station. I believe that's Sorrow's Cross, if I'm not mistaken. Well, while we're here, we look at Laura's sketchbook to find a hint regarding the eyes of the owl statue and a hole or dig spot next to the tree at the lake. Going to Child Lane, we can find that 3x3 button matrix. Tapping the pattern that we saw earlier gains us the marble cube. And with the bloodstained paintbrush from that dead pigeon, we paint the eyes of Mr. Owl to find a key. Taking it to the Soul Station, we unlock a locker with the copper cube. And while we're here, I fill up a bucket with water. We go back to Birdbridge to fill the manhole with the water and get a net. We're moving quite fast, so I don't forget, let's follow up on that lead regarding a strange person appearing at noon in Sorrow's Cross. At noon, we can see that strange old woman from the White Door, the one who took the coin from Robert and gave the coin back to him. Here, she gives us the bone cube. Now, with the net, we go back to the Soul Street and catch a fish from a puddle. We bludgeon it with a crowbar and find a key. A golden key. The last time we used the golden key was back in Crib Station.
Take it to the next station. 1 shrimp, please.
It's Mr. Bat from Rusty Lake Hotel. Well, we'll get him his shrimp soon enough. But let's grab this bronze cube and continue our cube quest. Filling a nearby grate with water, we find some arrows. This points us to that ticket machine at School Street. Punching in the secret arrows, we find an ice cube. Not to be confused by the ice that follows drink and precedes music. Now we have all but 1 cube. The final one is near the tree at that dig spot. Within it is the wooden cube. Interesting how the 3rd cube from Paradox can be found in this special place. It's almost as if Dale snuck it out with him and buried it. Floppy. But now checking our achievements, we have all the main station achievements. We still have a crap ton of the super secret achievements at the bottom, however. Well, with all of our cubes, we go to the box and place each cube inside. You know, this is reminding me of something. I know this 3x3 pattern is pretty common, but I can't help but feel that these symbols... Oh, never mind. When we unite these various elements, reminding me a bit of that, that elixir of life and death from Roots, Deep Sea Diver Premium Skin Mr. Owl gives us that shrimp. Heading back over to Crib Station, we hand the shrimp to Mr. Bat, and he hands us a golden ticket.
The train leaves at 2:25.
Switching the time to 2:25, a golden train arrives, and inside of it is, of course, Mr. Crow.
Of course, I knew he looked familiar.
Mr. Crow throughout this series has always sort of embodied the spirit of death. Now, the crow itself is not a purely necrophage animal, or an animal that eats carrion or long dead corpses. Crows are, in reality, just opportunistic. If there's roadkill, it'll eat that. If there's leftover McDonald's, I think it'll eat that, or dead plant matter. But still, ignoring the biological nitty-gritty of it all, on the surface, I think when it comes to our crow, it's not much of a stretch to consider the gothy, dark, macabre exterior to evoke said deathly themes. But in Rusty Lake's framing, there is a specific spiritual tinge to the death that Mr. Crow evokes. Now that we're here at the Underground Blossom, this is the second time that we've seen Mr. Crow occupy a sort of transitory role. The first time we saw him occupy such a role would be as a boatswain, a Charon-coded ferryman. We saw this at Case 23, Chapter 3, and also in the beginning of Rusty Lake Hotel. And here, at Underground Blossom, he's a train porter, punching people's tickets, which if you're not aware is slang. Getting your ticket punched is to die. But all that is just to say that Mr. Crow is an embodiment of this concept of death, the transitory nature of it all. However, to me, to say that this series is all about exploring death would be cutting the analysis too short. Death is just a small aspect. When you think back to eating at a fancy restaurant, do you just think of when you first walked through the doors? When your child is first born, do you only remember when you first walked through the hospital sliding doors or when the midwife knocked on your front door? Death is just the opening to the next step. The occasional punctuation in the eternal story, I believe Rusty Lake is playing off of. Mr. Crow squawks at us, punches our ticket, and squawks at us again, taking us to...
It's crazy to think that she sees us leaving in this too. Hotel, Rusty Lake.
Here we are, the surface of the lake. Being that this branches off from Crib Station, I wonder if this means that this is taking place before Laura's enlightenment, but I think that's missing the overall point. To our left and right, we have portraits of the Alchemist brothers, William and Albert Vanderboom. This emphasis kind of threw me off. Why is there these two portraits of these two brothers here at the entrance of the lake? I don't know, there's like a bit of pageantry to this that I didn't think that the brothers kind of warranted. I don't know if pageantry is the right term. Well, Aldous is linked to Mr. Crow, and both William and Aldous Vanderboom, with their alchemical work regarding the elixir of life and death, I'm sure, in some way, shape, and form, helped with the stewardship of the lake, or at the very least, Mr. Owl. So yeah, like, I don't know if there's a sort of godlike royal family whose birthright is of the lake. William and Aldous kind of occupy like these sort of progenitor, old gods kind of part of the dynasty. I don't know. Like, who's Odin's dad? Any of you guys ever play the game Rune? That was a fun game. I think the character you play as is named Ragnar. Of course, Ragnar. Now before us is a bell that hails a rowboat, much like the chapel in Case 23. So perhaps that's where we are? Not sure. But we leave this port and approach the hotel.
Welcome back, Harvey. I am glad you are here. We have work to do. The day of the lake is coming.
Very cool. A very easy to miss detail here is the mechanical nature to Rusty Lake Hotel's door opening. It seems that there's been an upgrade since the events of Rusty Lake Hotel, the game. Maybe. And also, there's that talk of this day of the lake again. Now we're getting some more tougher questions. What is this day of the lake? Let's also chart out Mr. Owl to our Rusty Lake Mythos whiteboard. Now, this ending points us to go even further. In that game menu suitcase, we have two leads. One is in the form of this business card for a company called Best Kept Memory. It has a phone number on it. And the other card is just a separate card with another phone number, a completely separate lead, labeled with RVDB. I think this is meant to stand for Rose Vander Boom. We'll start with the Best Kept Memory lead. Going to the only place that had a phone, Child Lane, we dial the number to this strange company.
Hi, Chad Brunswick speaking. Are you interested in visiting Best Kept Memory? Please take the 25 to 9 Metro. See you soon.
Taking the 25 to 9 Metro, we hear this odd corporate music playing, and the next stop is Best Kept Memory Distribution Station. Before us is, oh god, a website, another ARG. Before digging into this website, bestkeptmemory.com, let's talk to this smiley dude.
Welcome to the Best Kept Memory Distribution Center. You can find all your personal memories safely stored on VHS tapes.
We can fuss with some boxes of tapes, and we have a TV where we can insert said VHS tapes into. To the right is a locked secret area. This is the endpoint to this ARG. Over to the left we have a conveyor belt with a box of tapes. According to these papers there are, oh god, 33 boxes to sort through? And each box contains, 40 tapes. It was at this point I decided, yeah, this is definitely going to be a 4-part series. This stuff can wait. But now that we're here, let's explore what this even is. For example, this tape stuck out to me. A and then lowercase PSWRD, so password. We can hand it to the scientist guy, but he just says it's his favorite. I think this is the preset default thing he says for most, but not all of these tapes. When we insert this tape into the TV, we get these seemingly nonsensical photos. This is supposed to signify the preserved memories of a password, whoever that is. There's no use in sifting through all these tapes. Clearly the start point is that website, bestkeptmemory.com. This one was a bit more challenging to get information on at first, but I was able to get a lot of very good stuff out of this walkthrough from GamerPlayer. Big thanks to him for organizing all these steps in this YouTube video. I think we will naturally come to understand the lore as we work through the ARG, so let's get started with that. Clicking book now, we are taken to a sort of intake page where we can put our name in, book the appointment, and select our happiness and fear levels. What's important here, lore-wise, is the services that are offered. Memory preservation, which stores your memories in their database, likely tied to that distribution center we just left. Retrieve a lost memory, so bring forth a repressed or forgotten memory. And then an experimental memory extraction services. You might think, well, what's the difference between this and the first one? We're extracting a memory and preserving it. It's almost a combination of the two. Well, for Best Kept Memory, extraction means the erasure of an unwanted memory. The fine print simply lists off some comically grave side effects and risks to the process, but what's most important is how much Best Kept Memory sort of mimics or encapsulates the praxis that we've seen within Rusty Lake. I want to say starting at the mill. That's when we see the first explicit mention, description, and scene of memory extraction. I'm talking about Laura hanging from that chain. Recalling memories, extracting the memories, preserving them, or perhaps dissolving them in the lake, or keeping them for scientific use. Cleansing the person that's being extracted from of pain or trauma. From as early as Rusty Lake Hotel, but perhaps even earlier, we've had this emphasis on memories. Let's make some memories, like Mr. Owl would say when first accepting the guests. Nicholas Islander says, "I need your mother's memories." There's of course emphasis on memories in The White Door, and here they come to full underground blossom regarding the Best Kept Memory Corporation. And so, in our final wrap-up, let's ask the question, why memories? Now, putting in anything will give us this error page where we have a matrix of emojis to convey how we feel about these services. This is akin to that intake test on the White Door website, our first big locked door. We must simply collect various emojis or hints towards emojis and select them here. On the main page, scrolling down, we have 3 reviews. What's important are the pictures of the testimony authors. Maya has sunglasses, George is pensively stroking his chin, thinking, and Hans is winking. So, sunglasses, thinking, and winking. Those are the emojis. To the right, we have something that reminds me a lot of those weight puzzles that we solved in earlier Cube Escape games. I tried my best to hammer it out on my own, but I couldn't, as you can see from this, this scribbling on paint. Ultimately, I was stuck with how many hearts fit into skull. And the answer is 2. So, the 2 fingers or peace sign emoji. So far, our emojis are sunglasses, thinking, winking, and deuces. Under services, we can find some pretty nutty and I would argue vindicating stuff. The first paragraph, titled "Safely Store Your Memories with Us," draws inquiring potential customers in by hammering down the fleeting, ephemeral nature of memories, advertising Best Kept Memory as the premier way of preserving said memories. It finishes off with, "Never worry about forgetting the special moments from your past again. For what are we but the sum of our memories?" And this really popped out to me because I think this really emphasizes this core aspect of balancing the substances of your past life. Why is this mantra always associated with the building up and breaking down of the corrupted soul? I believe because, at least in the posthumous thanatonology of Rusty Lake, you are indeed a culmination of your memories. Rusty Lake's version of karma, perhaps. Now, as we established in the last video, karma, or kama, is action with intention. Here in Rusty Lake, I think there is less emphasis on action and more emphasis on experience, joys, pains, and emotion, both inflicted by and on the subject. In the next paragraph, titled "Retrieve Lost Memories," there's simply just some talk about Best Kept Memory being able to recall and restore past memories through the use of their sciencey tech. Is this derived from the progress made by the White Door? And by extension, Mr. Owl, or Dr. O, the manager? Come to think of it, do we know anybody who works for Best Kept Memory? That random dude in the distribution center isn't very recognizable. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this soon enough. And in the final paragraph, we have a new service, that aforementioned extraction of the memories. The fact that the word extraction is used to advertise a service that removes memories, cleanses a person of bad memories for therapeutic reasons, really hammers home what we've been working with since the very beginning. We work through these puzzle rooms, pull apart a cube from them, and then cleanse them for a good ending or positive outcome. Seasons, Arl, birthday, you name it. But now we have a sort of twist established in Hotel, White Door, and possibly here, of cubes being extracted and possibly being used for ulterior motives or simply for greater knowledge. If you remember at the end of Hotel, Mr. Owl is just in his room chilling with all those cubes. In Paradise, we liberated our mother's cubes from our family, or at least from Nicholas and Gerard. And of course, in the White Door, we have all those people held in captivity. Now, for the ARG aspect of this page, at the bottom we have a sort of survey ad or quiz. We have a Rorschach and 3 options as to what we see. Of course, these 3 options, a butterfly, a bee, and a corrupted soul, bring to mind Albert Vanderboom, or largely the game Past Within. But for our purposes of the puzzle, if we click on each of them, they affect the page in different ways. The butterfly shows ASCII art. Copying and pasting this ASCII art into Notepad and replacing each sort of enter arrow by pressing enter, the ASCII art forms into a rose. So, a rose emoji, but also reminding us of Rose Vanderboom. Clever. Selecting the bee brings forth some very strange jumbled text. But this is like next level leet speak. If you squint your eyes and tilt your head, maybe take a few steps back, or just use a translator. Best one I could find is decode.fr, also the one used in GamerPlayer's guide. We can make out, "I have a ring but no finger. I used to stay still all the time, but nowadays I follow you around." Let's take a look at those emojis. A phone. It rings, and it's depicted here in its rotary form. During that era, it stayed still, but now we have our cell phones. Okay, so rose and phone. The corrupted soul, fittingly, corrupts a picture. These jagged squares and rectangles signify dots and dashes. I can make out dot dot dot, pause, dash, pause, dot dash, pause, and then dot dash dot, which spells out the 4-letter word star. So rose, phone, and star. We'll skip over success stories for now and go into FAQ. These answers to the frequently asked questions are more comedic than informational. Aside from the mention of top scientists in the memory research field making up the team and no refunds, these are pretty humorous and just boilerplate. For our ARG, we must simply go in order of these questions, looking for typos and missing letters to form our next emoji. Scientist is missing an S, what is missing an H, process is missing an R, including is missing an I, immediately is missing an M, and procedure is missing a P. So S-H-R-I-M-P, shrimp. And sadly there is no white wine, but some damn good coffee. Now, this puzzle is nutty as hell. Apparently we have to form the first letters of each, not like word, but the font the word uses. We've got Times New Roman, old-timey something or another twice, so T-O-O, Times New Roman, and then I believe Helvetica, so T-O-O-T-H, tooth. So this page's emojis are shrimp and tooth. Now I believe we're just missing one more emoji, and that is found by calling the phone number.
You don't have enough credit to make this call. Go to voice settings and add credit to your Google Voice account.
Ah, I see. Because I'm a cheap bastard, I'd rather be dead than spend $10 to charge my Google Voice. Nice. So the last emoji is the dead emoji face. With all of our emojis selected, when we click submit, of course, another locked door. Oh, let's just speed through this. For the username, we have to email support and we get an automated response from a Chad Brunswick. That's his name. He's not a bowling ball with a large chin. This is the guy from the station. According to this email, he's not available. Well, his username can be deduced by looking at the elements of this email. You'll find user:_Brunswick. The password can be found in success stories. Scrolling to the bottom, we can find an ad or image that links to the Best Kept Memory commercial on the official Rusty Lake channel. The image itself is labeled banner, first letters, password. So we need to find the frames that are associated with each of these pictures and suss out the words said during these frames, forming the first letters to make up our password. It's a long and arduous process. The answer is never_forget. Now, logging in is where we must now take a step away from GamerPlayer's guide. He continues on, however, I had a hard time following which pieces the puzzles he referred to were placed where. It's not him or his video. This ARG was just very overwhelming for some reason. I'm going to continue on loosely following wisdom from his guide, but I guarantee I'm going to miss some stuff. Let's slow down a bit and go through this database. After all, it looks like we're returning to form of the white door's back end. Let's first dig through the client menu. We start with a couple, Brad and Charlie Miller. In both of their files, we have a link to a very cool video. However, let's first take a look at their intake forms. Brad Miller, root word mill, of course brings to mind the mill, the Rusty Lake Mill. He's a plumber working for Pied Piper. Piper would be more fitting, pipe fitting. Currently, he's not seeing a therapist, has not received neurosurgery in the past 3 years, and does not have first or second degree family with hereditary mental conditions. His happiness levels are self-measured, above average. However, his fear is on the higher end. This is clarified when we read that he's seeking best kept memory services regarding extraction or removal of a bad memory from his honeymoon with Charlie. There's also a symbol of a bone here. Something tells me we'll be revisiting past within. However, I think this is an error. This might have to do with the symbol that both choose during their intake process. We'll get there when we get there. Charlie Miller's intake shows that she's a hairstylist for Studded Curls Saloon, not Salon. What's with the unnecessary double letters? Odd. Now her happiness levels are low and is slightly tilted towards anger. The symbol that she chose was a gun. Now let's give that video a watch. First of all, the colors on the screen go from white to black to blue. Very cool. But also a coincidence. The footage begins with a couple banging like hell on the other door like a couple of white-toothed, red-eyed visitors. Rude. Now they give their introductions regarding why they're here. Charlie talks about troubles with their marriage that started on their honeymoon. When asking Brett to explain further, the footage gets corrupted. There's an ominous humming sound for like 40 seconds before the footage cuts back to normal.
Feelings and, well, it hurt her. Mm-hmm. It hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this a specific memory you would like removed?
Yeah.
For both of you?
Yes.
For both of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, could you specify the emotions that you associate with this experience?
She mentions sadness, disgust, insecurity, and betrayal. So something embarrassing happened. Brad said something and it caused pain that stuck with both of them, but Charlie was the recipient of said comment. Now the technician continues.
Okay, as a quick psychological test, could you please pick from one of these 9 symbols your favorite, purely intuitively?
The first page is handed to Brad. There are some familiar motifs. The 3-segmented square, what looks like a glass of liquid, an eye, screwdriver tooth, a small triangle, not sure, a lollipop, unlocked lock, and an upside-down mug. Maybe. I don't know. Brad picks the tooth in the middle, but for some reason it shows up as a bone on his intake. Charlie gets a paper with a stick or maybe a knife, a jug, a slice of bread or sandwich, or maybe a crystal ball, the number 8, a gun, the letter G, another screwdriver, what looks like a crow, and what looks like the number 6 in a sort of graffiti-like bubble font. She picks the gun. It seems that both pick the symbol in the middle. This test may not be very reliable. However, they may have their reasons for picking these items. The technician asks a very strange question referencing Brad's choice.
Yes. Are all your teeth present and accounted for today, sir?
Well, actually, I lost one tooth when I was young, so I have one fake tooth.
Now, Brad said he has one fake tooth from a past accident, but isn't it odd that the technician is concerned with teeth of all things? I'm suddenly reminded of Olszewski, the toothless man from Krakow, who was locked in containment in the White Door. He had all his teeth removed. What the hell do these clandestine memory-based lake-adjacent medical companies have with teeth? Now, check this out.
Okay, one prosthetic tooth. Oh, not to worry. We have been meaning to get that fixed. Not to worry.
I hadn't noticed that black cube just sitting there. Fascinating. I wonder if this will be the cube to contain these negative memories that are extracted. Now the technician asks some boilerplate questions, asks them to sign the dotted line, and mind you, they're both going to get this procedure done, so they are both directed to the procedure room. The footage cuts, indicating past time, and I'll play the rest of this out. However, note that the black cube is gone now. Brutal. The two seem to be shambling. Perhaps they have a fate in store for them, not unlike those captives of the White Door. We'll have to keep moving. Up next is Finn Wilson. No video here, just some images. First we have his intake form. Wilson doesn't ring any symbolic bells. However, Finn reminds me of the fins of the fish. He's divorced and a security guard for Rodriguez Security. His mental state is sad and somewhat angry. He's come to Best Kept Memory to preserve and record a memory of the winning moment of a high-money ping-pong champion. The symbol that he chose was the number 6. Now, this whole process began because he wrote to the Institute. Apparently, he wants this memory because he wants to dispute the referee that lost him that championship. That's sad, but it's also a bit funny. Then sad again when we realize that he's likely in the clutches of this Institute because he couldn't let go of that L. Maybe the Miller couple was just a fluke. Up next is Fiona Simmons, or Fiona Eliza Simmons. According to her intake, she's a singer and songwriter and self-employed. Or just doesn't have an employer. At least not one for Best Kept Memories to screw up the spelling of. There's nothing of note except she's quite content in life. She wants to preserve and record a memory of a vacation from 2 years ago. She calls it a killer okie holiday? Maybe killer karaoke? Let's give her video a watch. It starts off with the technician misgendering her.
Mr. Simons.
Mrs.
Simons,
Fiona
sorry.
Simons, yes.
I think he just misspoke, but I don't know why, I just found the awkwardness. Very relatable and very funny. Also, I like her boldness. She just enters, no fucks given. Now, it turns out this memory that she wants to preserve is not a killer okie holiday, but a killer ski holiday. Typical doctors with their shit handwriting.
So my friend Donna, she went on this beautiful holiday in the Caribbean, and she had this video made, and it brought me to think that I just need something similar. So I would like to have a memory video about my holiday 2 years ago.
Right, so you would like us to capture the killer skiing holiday, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and what specific emotions would you associate with these memories?
Joy, happiness, love, romance, I'd say, yes. But not the...
And like that, the footage is redacted. Skipping forward, he asks his boilerplate questions, and here's her response.
I am not. I am, however, a singer-songwriter. So I'm very much in tune with my memories, with my feelings, my emotions. I think I kind of do the same thing as you do, but then I use chords and, tones, notes, words.
Huh. I'm reminded of the operatic lady of the lake. Also, the symbol she picks is the hand.
Oh, I know right away. The hand, left.
The hand.
Yeah, I'm very physical.
You're very physical. Thank you very much.
Weird. I failed to mention it, but in her intake, the chosen symbol is a bird. Either this tech is fucking up, or they know something that not even their subjects know about themselves. But yes, more boilerplate stuff. She's led to the procedure room, and then here's the ending. Just like before, the black cube is nowhere to be seen, but she has a pep in her step, likely due to the fact that the procedure wasn't as invasive. Maybe there are no captives, aside from the memories, that is. Perhaps the couple was shambling because of the invasive nature of the extraction process. Glad we kept an open mind. Up next is George Franklin Duskendale. Nothing too special about his name, however, there is the root Dale in it. He's a retired widower, of course, with maximum sadness and only a slight tinge towards anger. He wants to remember his wedding day, have a record of it too. The symbol he chose fittingly is the coffin. Sad stuff. His letter more or less reflects the same thing, but with the old man pushiness. There's a symbol here as well, a key. Come to think of it, these symbols have either filled in or empty squares. Something tells me that the insertion point of these puzzle pieces have yet to be seen, but maybe I'm coping. Up next is Hans Adler. His intake is chock full of these symbols, a key, a dice, a clock, and a bee. He's a single student with above average happiness and high levels of anger. He wants a memory extracted, specifically of a woman that he's been dating for a while, perhaps to get over a breakup. Not much else we can glean from this. Up next is Jason Park, and I'm reminded of that park that Robert and Laura first met. He's a divorced product manager at Fisher & Co. I wonder if this company has any relation to Susan Fisher from The White Door. He's very sad and very afraid, and he's come in to have a memory extracted, removed. Apparently a visit to a casino. Brutal. Perhaps to remedy a gambling addiction. Brutal stuff. Godspeed. Ironically, his symbol is of a diamond, like that of a playing card. Up next is John Cedric, a married stunt performer of the Styx agency. Well, there we go. River Styx, Charon-coded maybe, but rivers are certainly a part of Rusty Lake's topology. Specifically, I'm thinking of that water that's directly fed into the mill. He's very fearful, and this is reflected in why he's come to Best Kept Memory. He's got a severe fear of heights, and is seeking to have a childhood accident excised from his memories to remedy his fear. Rough line of work to have a fear like this. Well, his symbol is a dice. All the information that we've gone through is more or less reflected in his letter. The only extra or new piece of information that sticks out to me is the first thing he lists in his stunt work is underwater stunts, again reminding me of the lake. There's also an associated video of his intake process. If you listen to his voice...
What brought you to Best Kept Memory today, sir?
Yeah, I wanted to have a childhood memory removed because I have a fear of heights.
Fear of heights, right. You're the stunt man.
Yes.
Correct.
That warm, fatherly voice is very familiar. This actor could be the same voice actor that played the kiosk salesman in Underground Blossom. Could even be the same character. In this economy, you need two hustles. Stunts as your main bread and butter, and working point of sale for everything else in between. He describes his associated emotions to this memory as anxiety and fear, and simply points to his symbol. It's hard to tell what he did point to, but I can for certain say that he did not point to the dice. Doesn't reflect what we saw in the intake. Odd. Well, the boilerplate stuff commences and the procedure is started. In this case, we see the cube get taken. Pretty neat. And then... Okay, not shambling, just dazed. Makes sense. God willing, that couple is fine too. I want to note that the other tech holds the cube, and his arms are kind of outstretched. I don't know if this is meant to indicate a hazardous material, maybe it's heavy, unwieldy, not sure, but just a minor detail. Now up next we have Maya Strauss. Strauss apparently means ostrich, bird, paired adjacent, an isosceles crow, sort of a quadrilateral quail if you really think about it. Not really though, a parallel pheasant. She's a divorced best-selling author with down-the-middle emotions and is seeking to retrieve a lost memory. She's the first of these clients that have asked for this specific service. She wants to get back a genius idea for a book. And I feel that. I've lost count of how many times I've woken up from a dream half remembering a banging-ass tune. Anyways. Her associated symbol is a clock. And you know what? At the moment of writing this part of the script, I figured out what these symbols and these filled in squares could be linked to. It's, fingers crossed, a lot simpler than I anticipated. And, most importantly, already solved. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Up next is Samantha Kent. I want to start off with her letter. The memory she wants to preserve is just dense with joy. It's her son's 13th birthday at a bowling alley. It was just the two of them. Perhaps nobody came or nobody was invited. But there was a big chocolate cake, cheeseburgers and fries and milkshakes. She got to teach him how to bowl, and he even got a strike. She says, "We're both very fond of that day, and it would be such a relief to know I can keep that memory safe from fading away over time. Not to mention that we could actually watch and rewatch it every time we're feeling sentimental. Hope to hear back from you soon." I really like this letter because it explores the joyous side to that tethering. We've been exploring things like trauma binding you to memories, mystery binding you to memories, and even the loss of something positive binding you to memories. But in this case, there is no downside, no pain. Her son is still around, the memory is purely joyous. But still, we cling to these things. I don't know. This just really stuck out to me. I mean, besides it being just very sweet and you know, tear-jerky. Tear-jerky? Lacrimosa Jerky Farm? Try our tear-jerky! Looking at her intake, she's a married saleswoman for BlackRock Goods. She's slightly tilted towards anger and somewhat towards happiness. And of course, the service she's seeking is the preservation and recording of the memory of her son's 13th birthday. I can only hope that nothing went amiss in her procedure. Up next is Scott Day. Wonder if there's any relation to Raymond Day. Let's see what the spirit takes us. Scott Peter Day is a married system analyst for Jensen Pax Cop Systems. Jensen rings a bell, but maybe because I'm thinking of Johnson. He has all-around average emotions, and he's seeking the retrieval of a lost memory, specifically to retrieve a memory of his student election day during his uni days. That's cute. Oh, and now it occurs to me. Here we have the last name Day, and previously we had the last name with the word Dusk in it, Duskendale. Day, Dusk, I mean, times of day are played around with throughout this series and a few puzzles. Floppy. Up next is Sonia Alvarez, and I think I recognize her hair and voice. She's in Mr. Rabbit's Magic Show, one of Rusty Lake's core studio staff. Very cool, like a Stan Lee cameo. But let's first start with her intake. Sonia Alvarez is a single PR manager at Weber Care Services. She has high levels of fear. Her goal is to preserve and record a memory of when she played her favorite game as a kid, GTA Vice City. I'm a Liberty City Stories man myself. Much of my music taste actually comes from Flashback FM. Her video reflects the same information. After she accepts the terms and conditions, she gives thanks, and the video ends. The only odd thing is just the fact that this is a remote consultation. However, based on this image of various screenshots, she did do an in-person visit. This was likely for her procedure. The images all have a paper with a symbol on it. I think this is a big dump of symbols for this particular part's ARG. However, I noticed that they are out of order. In order, we see Sonia look at the symbol Z, no reaction for the crystal ball or the canoe. She seems to be gasping or crying in reaction to the hand, but it couldn't be that bad because she's smiling in both the image where she observes a jar and where she's talking to the technician. The symbol is likely a valve or a sync knob. This goes south, however, when the tech seems to be up close showing her a picture of a clock, and it's causing her distress. Same thing with a B. And then a neutral face before she's shown a picture of a glass half full. Not sure what to glean from these outside their possible ARG elements. Now, last in this batch is Will Fenn. Fens remind me of like a swampy area, but I don't recall anything swampy in Rusty Lake's topography. He's a divorced school teacher at East Springs Primary. His intake form is anomalous in that, as far as I can recall, it's the only one where he's indicated that he is seeing a therapist and does have first or second degree family members with hereditary mental conditions. His emotional state skews heavily towards sadness and slightly towards anger, and he's seeking to preserve and record a memory of his dog, who is gravely ill and is not much longer for this world. In the video, we see that Will arrive to the facility with his dog. It seems the technician didn't plan for this.
Please have a seat. Oh, is it all right if I... He's in already. Thank you. Please have a seat. I'm a cat guy myself.
The intake moves along like normal. He describes the memories he wishes to preserve as warm, and the symbol he chooses is the ear, despite the intake showing an eye. We get the boilerplate questions. However, in this case, Will Fern discloses that he's been diagnosed with severe depression. They go through the risks, and time passes as the procedure finishes. Of course, the black cube is gone, and so is the dog. Why? Maybe it has something to do with Will's depression. It's easy to just write off Best Kept Secret as a sort of clandestine, shallow, creepy organization, and thus the missing dog can only be interpreted as nothing short of villainy. However, this could be a similar mercy being granted to Will that Sarah granted to Robert at the end of The White Door. Imagine already struggling with severe depression and losing your dog. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a sort of a dentist chair upscale type thing that went on, like, hey, you know, while we have you under, we could fabricate a memory of you already having lost your dog, and we can even give you some extra time to heal. A week of healing in Cube World is just minutes out here. But what will you do with Fluffy? We'll find a good place for him, somewhere that will take care of him so that he's comfortable in his Twilight era. I don't know, that's how I think it would go in my head, and I'll stick with the Cope fanfic. Now finally, we have a corrupted file. In this, we have an error file. Errorfile.pdf. It's the intake form for someone named Jimbo Fletcher. That's a funny name. He's a married banker with, I can't make it out, Firmamaid? Femomade? Well, maybe it's Flemonade? Banking Ltd. Just like Will, Jimbo has been seeking therapy and has family members with hereditary conditions. He has slight anger, somewhat happy, and is in to preserve the memory of a vacation with his girlfriend where they hiked along a beautiful Canadian lake. Thematic. Oddly enough, his fees look to be waived, and also his intake form number is scratched off. Oh, Jimbo Fletcher's Albert Vanderboom! Ah! Although it's kind of creepy that he's referring to what would be Rose as his girlfriend. Well, I mean, he needs a cover story, I guess. Or maybe Ida. Maybe he's talking about Ida. He wants to meet Ida back in Rusty Lake. This is all last-minute theory crafting because if we look below, we have what looks like the answers to what all of those symbols were for. We have two codes. Albert lives, which you know, scary, but not something we didn't know given the events of Past Within, and a numerical code. I didn't notice the lines until I started filling these out myself. 836205-43354. And then we have something completely different. Rose Vanderboom. Find my, and then just streaks in the lake. However, if we tilt and kind of mess with the ratio, the aspect ratio of this image, we can find that these are just messed up letters. Tilting the image and squeezing it, we can make out memory tape. So, Rose Vanderboom, find my memory tape. Each of these pieces are answers left behind. I believe for those of us who are late to the ARG and just want to explore, lore-wise. The reason I say that is because I recall GamerPlayer mentioning that certain videos in the Rusty Lake channel were previously unlisted, acting as endpoints in the ARG, and once thoroughly discovered were made public from their original unlisted state. I wonder if this is the same situation, the second page or these extra answers added in after the fact. Like I said earlier, there's definitely a lot that I'm missing here. Now, with these two codes, this takes us to company files. In confidential tapes, we must input that 11-digit numerical code. The file it unlocks is RVDB, Rose Vanderboom, followed by that 11-digit number and then UB, Underground Blossom. The video is just an unlisted teaser for Underground Blossom. Was the Best Kept Memory ARG done before Underground Blossom? This is the problem of being a latecomer tourist. The nuances of the mystery are kind of lost on you. Well, no matter. Let's wrap this up, shall we? So, within the company files, we click on Memory Database, and we have the various lottery winners. Here we have Jimbo as one of the winners, which would explain why his fee was waived. We're supposed to find each tape associated with these names. I couldn't find Kat's tape, however, so that will have to be a dud. In box 18, we find Ray Vive. Chad Brunswick even says Ray Vive's name.
Ah, look at this. Oh, the memory of Rayev. So beautiful.
Pretty cool. And right after this image of blossoms, we see the number 3. Sounds good. So, unknown number 3. Pidgeot is in box 17. The number is 5. I couldn't find Suvi. Ace is in box 0. His number is 9. I couldn't find Tiki Buns. JS777 is found in box 10, and his number is 2. I couldn't find Lamier. And to be honest, I think at this point I realized I'd missed several steps, which is why I wasn't finding many of these tapes. I'm just gonna cut my losses. Somewhere we were supposed to find a code to input into Chapter 2 of Past Within, specifically in the past, where the cube would spit out this image we have given to us here on the second page. So, find my memory tape. If we order the peaks behind Rose Vanderboom's name, from highest to lowest, we get Vendem Barroso. Kind of reminds me of Wyndham Earle from Season 2 of Twin Peaks. But yes, this is, as far as I know, the main end piece of the puzzle.
Before tapping into this Vendem Barroso lead, let's go ahead and find one real quick secret. I think naturally, in the midst of this ARG hunt, people were going to throw all sorts of numbers into this conveyor belt. One of them being 666. Of course, with only 2 digits, it would be 66. Doing so would get you a box with a key inside of it. This will be relevant very soon. But now let's go ahead and find that appropriate Vendem Barroso tape. Putting it into the television, this is what we see.
We've got footage of Rose and this strange lab. Some of it is like what we saw in Past Within, but some of this is new, foreshadowing a whole secret post-game sequence that we've yet to explore. Now, yes, the lights are blinking, indicating spookiness. Fascinating. The memory contained within this tape, Vendem Barroso's tape, seemed to cause Albert's emergence. Is this just an Easter egg, or is Albert truly free to wander this distribution center, or this train station Rusty Lake realm, or maybe the real world? Well, we have another key in this envelope, and all we have left is the code. A code that, sadly, I failed to piece together on my own. And sadly, this was so long ago, I don't remember specifically what guide I used for this part. I believe App Unwrapper, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, the code would be 835-799-244. Opening the door, we enter a room I believe looks similar to that procedure or intake room, but I could just be mistaken. We of course have a computer, a black cube, various vials, and a light. Once switching the light and fumbling with some more items, we get jump scared by Albert and he tosses us out of the room. Pressing in the code, again, we enter a room trashed by Albert. If we use our keys, we get this useless Mr. Memory plush. Ooh, and this golden envelope. Opening it gets us...
And an envelope. Oh, BKM End Text 1. Uh-huh. Okay.
I don't know what that means. Maybe that's an unintended glitch. Maybe there's more to this ARG. Can I be honest with you? I'm exhausted. I don't know how I'm gonna hang when I'm on the front lines when Pony Island 2 comes out, but this whole process was humbling. Seriously, I can't state it enough. Big shout out to all the people that not only do the legwork in these ARGs when they first arrive, but also those who archive the steps. The only other fun detail in this distribution center is we can give the Mr. Memory logo plush to Mr. Brunswick. I think the primary thing that we should take away from the Best Kept Memory ARG ending, what with all the Albert Lives hints and of course the focus on Albert in the very end, gives Rusty Lake a lot of stuff to work with if they want to ever go back into Albert in the future. From where I'm standing right now, the train station that is Underground Blossom kind of occupies that same realm that Rusty Lake occupies. Albert's breaking into this sort of realm of the Underground Blossom indicates that he is, if not is on his way to Rusty Lake. It would be really cool to explore the soul journey through Rusty Lake as a particularly villainous character. However, for our purposes right now, Best Kept Memory, I guess, should be treated as its own separate entity. Almost like its own game release, interstitial between major game releases. It's easy to think that it's somehow supplemental to Underground Blossom, just because of how many of its endpoints tie into the game. But if you really look at the timeline of releases and stuff, it really is kind of its own thing. And it's so standalone that it doesn't even feel like it belongs in the Rusty Lake series. Aside from the cubes we see in the CCTV footage, the involvement of Albert towards the end of the ARG, the only major and I think substantive thing that really links this to the series, to the Rusty Lake series, is the playing around with this concept of memories. A sort of completion or fruition of seeds planted in the White Door and its associated ARG. Which has me thinking, it seems that this game has been giving kind of mixed signals when it comes to the nature of memories. Specifically, its fleeting, ephemeral, fading nature. There are some story beats that are all about letting go of the memories, casting them into the lake. And yet there are story beats that emphasize the holding on. The power contained within these cubes and the scientific or spiritual or ritualistic boons that they can give us. The White Door Institute, Best Kept Memory, and perhaps by extension Mr. Owl, I think represent this need to cling onto or perpetually suspend memories, perhaps so that they can be cherished, so that they can be extracted from scientifically or ritualistically. Maybe by extension Albert also falls into that mix as well. And on the flip side, you've got a character like Sarah, and maybe by extension Rose, hard maybe on Rose definitely, but certainly Sarah, that have embraced the sort of forward march or forward turning of that samsara wheel. Oh, Samsara. Yeah, there we go. I'm sure there are other characters too that represent this as well. Maybe Caroline, maybe. But essentially representing the letting go of memories, the casting them into the lake. Definitely someone with a fresh pair of eyes should look back into Paradise and see what I have missed, because I think some seeds were definitely planted there that could have been handy here. Maybe. But enough about the Best Kept Memory ARG. We've got one more secret endpoint to explore at Underground Blossom. Now, it's been a minute. If you remember, there was one other phone number that we were given in that post-game suitcase. RVDB36133.
Hi. I'm glad you found my number. Please take the 20 to 3 Metro. It's time for you to see my work.
Taking the Metro, we break off from Child Lane into the lab, a research facility. Best kept memory or something specific to Rose's machinations? There's a janitor blocking our way.
I need some coffee.
While collecting some implements for coffee, we come across these 3 movie posters. We have the Lost Soul Club, a reference to that discotheque from the White Door, but here it's more jazzy or swingy. Of course, we have Mr. Rabbit, somebody wearing what looks like an owl mask, but this could be a pheasant mask, and then just a nondescript bird, unsure if this is a crow or a parrot, given the grayscale color scheme. The subtitle is The Past is Never Dead, a nostalgic evening of song, dance, and memories. Clever, yeah. Of course, this being a Rusty Lake property or game, we identify The Past is Never Dead. However, it would be a very fitting sort of a flashback or nostalgia oldies night at a club or something. Good subtitle for that. Atop this poster, we have August 18th. Wonder what that means. Probably just a reference to the White Door. The Lost Soul memory takes place on August 18th. Up next, we have The Incredible Smoking Mermaid, only at Rusty Lake Theater. A simple reference to the character from Harvey's Box. I love that it's called a mermaid, not exactly the formatting we're used to. And then we have The Theater of Your Mind, with all the various acts of Cube Escape Theater and portraits of its contained characters. Very nice. We brewed the coffee for the janitor, and it jumpstarts his bowels. We grab his mop and steal his key, entering the facility. Using a map, we navigate to our first set of rooms, finding a cup and using our mop, jamming a vent fan to grab a fuse. Shortly after, we bump into that black mouse, a recurring character from the White Door. He leads us to the fuse room. Taking a look at the map, I see what options I have for exploration. There's a fuse already in the power panel, and I have one in my inventory. I cut open a path to the storage room, deduce a set of symbols, and use said set to unlock a box with Rose's ID card. I pick up a valve and move to the left. There we find Albert, or his corrupted soul, trapped behind bars. I wonder what Rose plans to do with him. We use a valve to open the cell door, and what's interesting is that when we enter his cell, we can find a dead rat. I wonder if that black rat with the white eyes can be likened to a corrupted soul of this dead rat. Something to think about. Of course, Albert rushes past us, and following him to the storage room, he slimily crawls up the wall. Freaky. I want to take this moment real quick to kind of take just a tad bit of inventory. We don't have enough data points to really justify a whole new whiteboard, but if it's not clear already, we will come to learn that this whole thing is tangentially related to the lab or future that we saw in Past Within. Is the fact that Albert is still in his corrupted soul form here indicative of these events taking place before the events of Past Within? Logic and common sense says yes, of course, because at the end of Past Within, the future Albert Vandermoon corrupted soul, or Albert, is restored and brought back to life. Again, doesn't really matter, but might as well take a little bit of that inventory. Now, speaking of Past Within, using the fuses to open a new path, we find a chalkboard that sort of goes over the steps that were taken in Past Within. The 3 substances of Albert were brought from the past to the future in a sort of infinite or arboreal paradoxical samsara-esque loop was established, and somehow this led to a tree being grown of both Rose of the past and Rose of the future. Hey, hold on. Past and future. Oh gosh, I've slept on this. There's an element of time in many of these rituals and journeys. In Paradox, we have the different time brains. In Past Within, of course, we have the past and future rows. And if I'm not mistaken, in theater, didn't Mr. Owl say something about like the show having to do with the past and the future? I think he said something around like, this is the show that delves into your mind or something like that.
And this evening I present to you 6 plays about the past, the present, and the future. It's showtime.
But regardless, thematically, this time-oriented stuff, past, present, future, of course the blue and golden cube, is something that I've been sleeping on for certain. I'll add this as something we'll explore in our final wrap-up, but I am reminded of the sort of past is never dead aspect. What is with this repeated significance, emphasis on the past, the present, and future? Traveling further, we use Rose's ID to enter a lab. We collect various implements and place them on the table, but we're missing some stuff. We'll be back. We pick up some matches, get lightly jump-scared by corrupted Albert, and instead of a metro ticket, we give the janitor a roll of shit tickets. Now, collecting the water from the toilet, gross, we have all of our implements. We take the rat kidney we collected from the dead rat and pour a specific combination of coffee, water, and, this green liquid. This was already here when we first walked in. Perhaps this is the crafting of the elixir of life and death.
Creative, but no, if I remember correctly from Past Within, it's just acid. These are the same kind of ritual or experiment from that game.
Regardless, we just culture an unthinking mass of flesh. We find the janitor polishing the doors, and we open a path for the glob to the vent room. He sacrifices himself to the fan, opening up a path for us, so that we may pick up a third fuse. We get slightly jump-scared by Albert and cut another path with our 3 fuses, this time to the memory extraction room. And when we get there, we find Rose. Of course, Rose the Elder.
Harvey, you have finally found me. I have been working here all these years. I had to leave her behind for her own sake. The cubes, the resurrection, the sacrifice. It's all for her.
So all this is according to her plan. The cubes I follow, the resurrection, I get it, the resurrection of Albert. I had a feeling Rose was truly the one in control all this time, not just blindly following her father, but what sacrifice are we talking here?
It's time to start the process. First, my memory needs to be extracted. Please close the door. Please take this cube. We need it to run the test program.
Leaving the room with Rose's black cube, we find that the janitor has been dragged away. Following the trail of blood, we find corrupted Albert, biting or sucking at the neck of the janitor. Jeez. Before he can attack us, Rose intervenes. Was this the sacrifice she was referring to? If so, then perhaps Rose inherited some villainy from her own father.
Thank you. Please take a look at the cubicle device. It is time to run the test program. Run Harvey.
Run Harvey has a double meaning. She wants us to run away to our next task, but also the program is literally called Run Harvey. Getting into the final room of this lab, we find the future cube from Past Within and insert Rose's memory. Just like with the best kept memory path ending, it's a bit anticlimactic. I think that's because this whole lab sequence isn't meant to be the main focus of Underground Blossom. After this ending sequence, we can actually take a second look at the cube to find its switches and slides in specific orders. And on the display screen is the year 1935. If we go back to Past Within and set these slides and switches to the correct sequence and punch in 1935, we get a green floppy disk. And running it, we have a game within our game, Run Harvey Run, a side-scrolling platformer where you must avoid bumping into various obstacles themed around each level of Underground Blossom. It's very charming and just shows how effortful and just made with love this whole series is, from the ARGs to the interweaving mysteries to these big long corridors of secrets and puzzles that just lead to fun.
This is so fucking sick.
Stylistic trailers to future games, clues to past installments, or just fun excursions like this game. Honestly, Rusty Lake, to me, is more than just a game series. It's like this cultural miasma. Its essence, a duo of art and puzzles.
I fucking love Harvey so much. I think he's my favorite character.
Well, listen, while I enjoyed this long-winded diversion...
Whoa, 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 no, 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 no! That's diabolical!
I think it's best we get back to what really matters in Underground Blossom. Laura. If you recall, back in the Cube Escape collection, when we would collect all the achievements for each Cube Escape game, a symbol would reveal in the selection screen. Finally, this puzzle piece that was established in the very first part of our series, our video series, finally has an insertion point. You remember those cubes that we were collecting across the various Underground Blossom levels? Well, if we go back to that lake and rearrange the cubes in that same sequence to the Cube Escape collection, we get this ending.
Look around.
It's that same white cube that we saw in the end of Cube Escape the Cave. If you remember, within it, Laura and Dale were in captivity, and at the end of that sequence, Dale was sent up, Laura remained there. And then in the secret ending of Paradox Chapter 2, we get the confirmation of Dale's ascension.
Where did she go?
She is ready. It is time to ascend. We will meet again.
But now here we have Laura going on her ascension. I'm stoked. Both Laura and Dale got to ascend. What that even means, and even if that's a good thing, that may remain a mystery, but I'm optimistic. We're not fortune tellers, but we can look back, and I think what this is supposed to evoke within us is a sense of closure. The tying up and sending off of everything that's been established in this series. I think the only constants from here on out when it comes to Rusty Lake are going to be like Mr. Crow and Harvey. If we ever are going to see Laura again, it's going to be in a different iteration that may as well be considered a new character. Same with Mr. Owl and Dale. Gone is the Islander Owl, and gone is the Vandermeer detective. Whatever steward of the lake, whatever Mr. Owl we will meet in the future may be a totally new character. Time may prove me wrong, but I'm genuinely impressed with how, despite this whole series being highly interpretive, abstract, and just opaque, is that the right term? Foggy? It somehow is able to strike a very satisfying sense of closure in these two ascensions that we see. I think that's why it was so important for this to be set in this sort of cyclical, ever-turning Samsara-esque framing. In many stories that we're used to, especially the more grounded, kind of less abstract stories, there's always this need to sort of land the plane, tie a nice bow on the plot, this idea that there needs to be some sort of closure. Whereas in stories like Rusty Lake, I think the best thing to do is just send these freaking characters off into the beyond and just be like, I've returned to Rusty Lake. Now, ultimately, this is the end of the series. Mr. Rabbit Magic Show is not really going to contribute much to the story overall. But still, it is a very sweet bow to tie this particular video series up with. But before we do that, let's kind of go through a bunch of the questions that we've been picking up on throughout this video and sort of answer them. My final thoughts on some of the more grounded questions that we can ask when it comes to Rusty Lake. Really, this is going to kind of serve as like a study guide for me for when I come back to this when Servant of the Lake comes out. But also, if we can just hammer all of that right now, we can just kick up our feet and enjoy Mr. Rabbit Magic Show without worrying too much about lore and all that stuff. It is genuinely some really fun footage that I have of it. So, first question. What is Rusty Lake? Not the game, but the place. Now, the location is a constant, its destination is static, but in time it becomes a bit more fuzzy. It's also fuzzy in what properties it embodies. Is it this ethereal afterlife where memories are cast after death? Is it an actual location that a very real and corporeal family moved into? Is it a fantastical realm that half human, half animals dwell to achieve relaxation? Or is it simply a representation of a state of mind that exists within all, the captives of a mental institute, or the customers of a memory recall company? Unfortunately, if we look at what the series tells us, it seems to be telling us that it's all of the above. If we want to better understand Rusty Lake, we've got to piece apart the smaller questions. What are the cubes? In short, they are memories, but they can also be seen as gauntlets of overcoming, fruited from the angsts of individual souls. Contained within them are puzzles, things to be made sense of within the lives of the soul sojourners. To me, some of them are highly grounded, like birthday or seasons. Some are more abstract, made up of various motifs and symbols, making up the angst of said soul sojourner, like Cube Escape Paradox and I would argue Arl. And then some Cube Escapes kind of start off grounded and become more abstract as you play along them, like Case 23, Harvey's Box, maybe The Lake. But in short, cubes are simply memories. So that takes us to our next question. Why memories? Why does Rusty Lake have such emphasis on memories? Why are they represented by these cubes, these things that are cast into the lake, that are analyzed and harnessed for scientific purposes, or even have ritualistic properties? While Rusty Lake has been more on the nose with its use of samsara and the corrupted souls, or preta, I think it's been more close to the chest intentionally regarding karma. I believe the series has been more intentionally close to the chest when it comes to how it implements this concept of karma. We went into it a little bit in the last video, but karma, or kama, is action with intention. My personal interpretation of this concept of karma in the natural order of the world emphasizes this sort of chain of thought to action to consequence. Bad things happen because they come from bad actions, which stem from bad thoughts. Again, my personal interpretation. I believe that Rusty Lake leans into the consequential aspect of Rusty Lake. Not the actions, not so much the thoughts that stem from the actions, but the memories they leave behind, the consequences they leave behind. The memories, the cubes that represent them, are like fruit, ripening and falling from the trees that represent the individual souls. Fruits that need to be accounted for so that the tree may fully blossom. The journey of Dale and Laura seems so central, so important, so special, but the presence of all the trees, the denseness of that forest, to me indicates that they are just a drop in a bucket or a drop in a lake. There have been countless memories cast into the lake, countless trees, individual souls that have passed through Rusty Lake in the past, and there will be countless more after Dale and Laura have their present run. Speaking of which, this takes me to my next question. What is the significance of the past, the present, and future? This is something that I genuinely realize I slept on this. I slept on this hard. In Paradox, we have the brains that represent the past, the present, and the future. We've got the various cubes. Blue cubes seem to represent the past, or the past is never dead. Gold cubes represent, of course, the future. The past within plays around with these cubes, plays around with these concepts. I believe the golden cube representing the future, the black cube representing the past. You've got two different roses representing, of course, past and future, and perhaps by extension, Albert as well. We've got the three cubes in Chapter 1 of Paradox 2, I'm just realizing, that represent also the past, the present, and future. But I feel like there's definitely more I'm just drawing a blank on. Again, I sort of slept on this concept. I think this folding in of the past, the present, the future and the past and the future, simply spells out to us the chain that each soul finds itself on. Something that the individual soul must reckon with to find peace and perhaps even purpose in their individual link in this infinite chain. You have a past, you have a future, the present that you come from, the trauma that binds you to this body, that binds you to this wandering, is simply one link in a larger chain. That's the best I can muster up. Something I'm a bit more confident in. What about this forest? It was featured as early as Seasons as a sort of one-off jump scare, but evolved to be directly linked to Hell or Naraka in theater. However, what it is, what this location or this motif is to the larger Rusty Lake series has sort of transformed throughout the series. It can either take the form of that foggy area with that white cube and all the different wandering corrupted souls, specifically at the bottom of the lake, or it can represent the individual hell that one must traverse to cleanse or unburden themselves so that they can become enlightened or ascend in that elevator. I believe that what Rose says at the end of, I believe it was Underground Blossom, I believe she says, "I am reborn, a tree among many," or something of that sort. I believe this indicates that each tree that we see in that forest represents a past either iteration being completed, or, as I sort of thought all the way back in part 1 of this series, maybe each of those is a elevator of a past successful soul sojourner that's ascended. Maybe each branch is kind of like a different memory that you kind of like explore, all that stuff. There's something to that, I feel. I feel like I clocked something there. This leads me into my next question. At the bottom of the lake, where all those forests are, or all those trees are, sorry, what are the corrupted souls? From the beginning, the intricacies were constantly developing. I think the corrupted soul is sort of like this ambiguous golem of pain, lost joy, and fear. A human fruition of an individual's karma, or at least Rusty Lake's take on karma. This is like the word of the day, by the way, ambiguous. What I refer to ambiguous is whether the corrupted soul is the person that it comes from, like it's just the sick version of that person, or sorry, just that person but sick, or a totally different entity that the past individual has reincarnated into, which is kind of very sad if you think about that. Like imagine, your past self dies and then you just wake up and you're like, oh, what the heck, this feels horrible. And your prime directive is to basically be like a karma accountant for the guy that brought you here. Just taking account of your sins, deeds, and just overall baggage. I think in Rusty Lake it's a little bit of both of those things. A transition from a past life into a future life. Oh, well, if you think of, like letting go of baggage, the process of forgetting. Crap. That like makes Best Kept Memory and like the White Door, oh gosh, like so interesting when you think about that. But they want to preserve the memories. So would that mean that they're like anti-Lake? Let's just get to the next question. Also pretty confusing. What is this Day of the Lake? The Day of the Lake was first mentioned in Paradise, describing the sort of ultimate ritual where Jacob Islander would be burned in the owl pyre by his family members donning these animal masks. The Day of the Lake was also referenced in Paradox, I believe, and of course at the end of Underground Blossom when Harvey reaches the Rusty Lake Hotel. Mr. Owl says, "Harvey, we need to prepare, for the Day of the Lake is near." Is he referring to the events of Rusty Lake Hotel, where all the animals come and get sacrificed, their memories harvested? Was that the Day of the Lake? Or is it referring to something else that we've yet to see come to pass? Speaking of Rusty Lake Hotel, the events of course, that associated Rusty Lake game kind of mirror the events of Paradise. In Paradise, it's 5 animals sacrificing an owl, and in Hotel, it's an owl sacrificing 5 animals. I think there is a strong chance that the Day of the Lake is something that will be fleshed out in a future game. If not Servant of the Lake, it would have to be something even further. Come to think of it though, the Day of the Lake could just be a fancy word for the day of one's rebirth. The day one's past is cast into the lake, they go through their hell and they are born anew. Maybe Paradox was Dale's Day of the Lake. Maybe Underground Blossom was Laura's Day of the Lake. Would that mean that the White Door is Rob's Day of the Lake? Maybe. I'm gonna have to keep an open mind for some new details. 2026 can't come fast enough. I'm talking about Servant of the Lake, of course. Although, I bet that's something a lot of Rusty Lake fans had to learn to let go of. Like, oh, so this next game is going to definitely answer this question, that question, and but you can't have those kinds of expectations. You got to go in blind. You got to go in just completely blind. Last minute, I kind of came up with this question too. I didn't chart it out in the video itself. Who is the Lady of the Lake? It spoke to me for some reason, that question, even though it doesn't really have much to do with anything. Let's start with just having a more simple outlook. As I've marinated on this, I think the Lady of the Lake is sort of this folk archetype that seemingly Laura is going to occupy. Perhaps Caroline Islander once occupied this role. But ultimately, I think it's almost like a prophecy, or maybe just the model of the individual soul's sacrifice or suffering and then thusly sacrifice to the lake. Because the Lady of the Lake kind of keeps coming back to me as like this martyr figure type thing. You know, archetypal. A hanged man, a high priestess, a legendary archetype. And I don't have this written down, but like, I got so much shit jogging in my head right now. There's just two very small theories or things that I never really fleshed out because he's very last minute. Sarah may have some linking to Rose. Their voices sound similar, but, you know, obviously Bob Rafferty voices so many people too. I don't think that's evidence of linking. But, you know, there might be something there. However, what I do find fascinating is the hairstyle of Elder Rose. I forget, I think it's when she's very old and passed within. Not so much like Cougar Rose in Underground Blossom. Her hairstyle has those lines going back, which looks so much like that iconic headdress of Caroline Islander and thusly the Lady of the Lake. All right, so part 5. Next video is going to be part 5. No, I'm just kidding. There's, as you can see, there's so much that I could go back and recomb through. But like I said, I'm half past Gestaltzerfall at this point. In other words, I'm beyond the point at which everything is starting to mush together. Since the beginning, a lot of people have reached out wanting to offer their own theories, their own inputs, and all that jazz. And because of my method regarding going into topics completely blind or as blind as possible, you know, with some discretion, I held off on reading and listening and ruminating on these theories and takeaways. Again, with some discretion here and there. But now that we're towards the end of this series as of now, until a new Rusty Lake game comes out, I've opened myself up more to other people's thoughts and takeaways. And one correspondence that I think will help patch over, I think, a major hole in my analysis is a comment left by Nowhere Nest on my part 3 video. They left a fantastic time-stamped bullet point of various factoids I may have missed, corrections, and alternative theories. But there are 2 major things I think went completely over my head that I really want to just fold in now. First, William's role in Laura's demise having less emphasis and Rose's abandonment having more emphasis. This is Nowhere Nest's comment. I see no evidence of William affecting Laura. In fact, I see a different reason for her poor mental state, and Underground Blossom is all about that. The game says that Rose is the root of all Laura's problems. Number 1, Laura uses the same wording as her when she breaks up with Bob. We need to follow our own paths. It's not strictly canon, but it perfectly depicts Laura's mindset.
We both need to follow our own path.
Number 2, the Prozac that, according to a doctor, was to help figure things out, shows vision of Rose. Number 3, Laura's dying question was, where did she go? Of course, she referring to Rose. Number 4, Laura was clutching her portrait of Rose close to her chest throughout the whole chapter. And 5, in the end she says, my mother, I know she's there for me. I can live another life without sorrow. It's as if the game doesn't even acknowledge William. Now, I think this is pretty huge. While I liked my William theory from part 2, I think it should have been obvious by the time I finished Underground Blossom that William's place in Rusty Lake was taking a back seat and that Rose was more instrumental in Laura's life. If I wanted to almost fuse the 2 frameworks together, it's almost as if Rose is still acting as an agent of William, or what he represents from the communication event from Roots, Rose being possessed by William figuratively and thusly Laura being possessed by her own mother figuratively. Kind of like how, you know, we always ask like, oh, I'm becoming my father, I'm becoming my mother type thing. Secondly, there's some really good stuff regarding Caroline, Jacob, and the events of Paradise, but I really want to hone in on what Nowhere Nest says here, specifically in response to Aldous and William's initials being seen at the top of the kind of carved out tome in the Paradox short film. Nowhere notes, I see two implications here, and again in regards to those two initials being included. One, Aldous and William helped to develop the Rusty Lake Mental Health and Fishing program, and two, they made their elixir based on Caroline's formula. She did omit the 10th elixir element after all. Crap! Huh. I should have honed in more on, the tradition and recipe of the elixir and the process as it passed through the various arcs of Rusty Lake. Kind of reminded of those diamonds from GTA 4, the ones that you see in the very intro, but they're like integral to all the different missions and DLCs. This whole process, this elixir of life and death, starting from Caroline and the Islanders, passing on to the Alchemist brothers, maybe passing on into the official mental health and fishing modality. You could even say maybe even the White Door, carries that torch, that relay thingy, baton. And you could even say the same thing about Best Kept Memory. Again, big thank you to Nowhere Nest. This is the second time that I am referring to their comments and corrections and whatnot in my videos. And it was absolutely integral to my theory crafting in part, like I said, Gestaltzerfall. Was it part 3? Yeah, part 3. It's nice to know that when Servant of the Lake comes out, I won't be going in, blind and clueless. And my only hope is that my videos can do the same for the rest of the Rusty Lake fan base. All the rest of the Rustorians, as I've been calling them. And also, to the many people that have reached out, sent their theories, I also want to give a big thank you to. I've been reading through them, and I've had a blast just, picking up on these new ideas, kicking myself in the ass for not thinking about that, before. And so I apologize for not including them in this, in this part of the video. But like I said, the videos on this channel, they're not a landing zone, they're a launch pad. I bet there are plenty of online discussions, forums and whatnot that are just starved for conversation. Thanks again to everybody. Now, back to my first question, but a little bit different now. What is Rusty Lake? Not the location now, but the game. Specifically, what is the series all about? Of course, everybody's going to take away something different from the series and personally emphasize on things that speak to them on an individual level. For me, Rusty Lake tells the story of coping with eternity. In a lot of art and story making and whatnot, there is this constant through line, this fear of death, or a fear of something bad happening that ultimately, if left unchecked, leads to death. Sickness, poverty, abandonment, things like that. But in Rusty Lake, the angst that courses through it is not of death, but of an unending wandering, leaving a past behind and moving beyond, past the threshold where you will be in a state that you are not aware of what you've left behind. It's a freaky kind of way of isolating the permanence of death, but removing the death aspect. So, Rusty Lake, the mental health and fishing, the past is never deading, the all that you touch, you're changing, I think is all about, I would say, coping with that suffocating idea, but just playing off of that suffocating idea. I'm personally very satisfied with these answers, my answer, but listen, if you're not satisfied, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. This is a very interpretive, abstract series. And hey, all the more reason to start your own channels, your own Substacks, TikToks, whatever you want to call it, Gaia Onlines. While there's a lot of closure with Rusty Lake, I have a gut feeling that things are just getting started. So get out there and create and build up a combo off of the creativity that we've seen with Rusty Lake. I made that sound like this was like the send-off to the video itself, but we still got a whole ass game to play. Up next is Mr. Rabbit's Magic Show. Like I said, doesn't really contribute much for our purposes, lore-wise, still a great game, for free, by the way, too, so you could also play it right now. But for this video, it's going to be a straight shot through. The next time you're going to see me in front of a whiteboard will be after we beat the game. So let's go ahead and send this finale off with the Mr. Rabbit Magic Show. As far as lore stuff is concerned, I don't think we're going to be covering too much, if any, new territory. There is some further establishing of the Mr. Rabbit archetype, linking between various characters like the Birthday Killer, David Islander, and of course Mr. Rabbit the Magician, but nothing as groundbreaking as the implicit reveals in Paradox Chapter 2 and the Day of the Lake ritual from Paradise. This game, and thusly the segment of the series finale, is like the strawberries atop a tres leches cake. On paper it's not necessary, but somehow it's essential. This will be more gameplay focused, specifically with the hot mic bits. So if the sole purpose of watching this series for you has been just to get some questions answered, act as a sort of launching point for your own investigation, don't feel pressured to watch the rest of this. I just want to thank you for sticking around and enjoying the series thus far. I will be giving some final thoughts on this series at the end of the video, but I wanted to hammer out all the questions and answers aspects just to respect your time. Now, like I do with all my gameplay footage, I always begin by resetting all progress. But before doing that, I want to show you the collectibles found throughout this game. They're playing cards, each suit representing a sort of arc or perhaps storyline of the series. In the Spade suit, we have all the bird stewards of the lake. Harvey is the Jack, Mr. Crow is the Queen, and Mr. Owl is the King, naturally. And the ace, of course, is the black egg. Makes sense, the sort of leaf-shaped thing of the spade does kind of look like an egg. In the heart suite, the ace is, naturally, the anatomical heart, commonly associated with William Vanderboom. However, this suit is themed around the animal hotel guests. Mr. Deer is the king, Mr. Boar is the jack, and both Miss Pheasant and Mrs. Pigeon are the queens. Now you might be wondering, where is Mr. Rabbit? Well, being that he is the namesake of this game, he gets the unique position of Joker. And in every set of playing cards, there are two Jokers. Here, there is a normal Joker and an evil Joker. The evil Joker more resembles Mr. Rabbit the Birthday Killer, or perhaps the Corrupted Soul. We have the Butterfly suit, which I feel resembles the suit of clubs, the leaves of that sort of clover shape looking similar to the wings of a butterfly. Of course, this suit is centered around the Rose and Albert saga. The Corrupted Soul takes the place of the Jack, of course Rose is the queen, and the dastardly Albert is the king. Of course the butterfly is the ace. And finally, in the place of the quadrilateral diamonds, we have something a bit more hexagonal, the suit of cubes. In the Jack position, we have the beloved Robert in his black and white door color scheme, and that donut. I mean, bagel slag. Laura is the queen and Dale is the king. And the ace of diamonds is, of course, the cube. A white cube in this case. There's something about these cards being grouped in this manner that I find very satisfying. Like in the fleshing out of this Rusty Lake abstract universe, there are sort of these more discernible kind of arcs that you can kind of trace around. It's really nice and like satisfying to think about. But now, without further ado.
Reset the game, clear achievements. The Mr. Rabbit Magic Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mr. Rabbit's Magic Show. A celebration of 10 years of Rusty Lake. A round of applause for Mr. Rabbit.
Ha! 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 Hop. 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 Ha! Uh-huh. Hop.
Like I said, theory crafting is over. If you want to click off at any point, I will not take it personally. Although there are some bangers in this game footage. The first hint regarding the framing of this game is this big boulder of crumpled paper. This is taking place in some sort of miniature fashion. Come to think of it, kind of reminding me of the various paradoxical space aspects we were dealing with. But in this case, it's not that deep. In this next puzzle, we must place objects in their associated headwear.
Baseball. Building. Searching. Killing. Horsing. Bunnyman. Ha! Ha! Hop. hey. Ho, ha, hey, huh. Hey, 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 hey. Ha. Ha.
We do a trick where we assemble Mr. Rabbit, do a sort of pick what object changed puzzle, and then see a mug get shuffled into our view. It's a mug with little Laura blaying at us. Cute. Again, emphasizing the scale of what's before us. We throw some bunnies into hats. There's a fun video of how the sound people for Rusty Lake recorded the bunny splat noises. This next puzzle is more reminiscent of when we first met Mr. Rabbit, specifically his demise. We organize swords in accordance with these little equations, and then, suddenly, I see, a computer. Is this taking place on Rose's computer? Was that Albert's arm? Well, we light a bunch of bulbs, and we must give Miss Pheasant flowers that are found on her head. Here's what happens when we hand her an incorrect flower. She loves me not. Well, when we complete this puzzle, however, we get 2 thumbs up. Very cute. You know, I miss these characters. The next puzzle is very easy. We must simply throw food in accordance to what animal eats which food. I like getting this one wrong because for a quick moment you see all the different animals peek their heads up. The next magic trick. So, this is taking place in the actual Rusty Lake Studios.
It's not working. You!
Okay, let me explain myself. Again, this was before I really started the series. I've long come to appreciate the nuances of Dutch culture and linguistics. Spoiler alert, we're playing as an intern, and so this is my attempt at role-playing with a bad, nondescript German accent.
Oh no, there seems to be a bug.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh no, there seems to be a bug. We have some work to do here in the Rusty Lake office. Let's fix this before the celebration starts. But first, let's have some drinks. Tea for me, please.
Europeans are so mellow, man. My American brain could never fucking comprehend it. They're always so like mellow and just like, yeah, we're just gonna go on holiday. What the fuck is that? It's like, you know, you take a break. Excuse me?
In other words, I'm jealous. Now, we pick up various pieces of trash from the floor and even find a best kept memory videotape. Now, this isn't lore related, just a piece of memorabilia from the ARG days. We then find a record. Yeah, this sounds like the birthday song, but it's kind of a little bit different. You know how like certain classical songs have like numbers to them, like Gymnopedia number 1, Nacien number 2, Mambo number 5. This kind of sounds like it would be like Birthday number 2 by Victor Butzelaar. Also, like being on the tail end of a game, of a finale, and fussing with records, that happened in Inscription, man. And we were supposed to start with show tunes. To the left, we have a set of various memorabilia which are based on real-world pieces of art that the Rusty Lake studio has, as seen in this game's supplemental short video, The Intern. We're not going to get deep into that. It's very cute and just a joyous watch, but for our purposes, I couldn't find anything too specific. But if I were to give my first take on it, if there was ever to be any sort of extra theory crafting upon it, maybe in a future video, I have a sneaking suspicion that the intern may know more than he's letting on. His outfit is very, I don't know, Islander coded, and he's got a few strange notes in his home. But that's the thing about these very interweaving mysteries, is that sometimes these things may not make sense now, but in future installments they do. Who knows, we may actually have to revisit Mr. Rabbit with a fresh set of eyes when Servant of the Lake comes out. But for now, I don't know. There's not enough for me to chew on. So yes, we have plushes of various characters. A retro TV on its 3rd channel is the number 1, which will be used in a puzzle. We've got Droste Gift from Oma, so just a tin of cocoa from somebody's grandma. That's cute. But I make a hilariously frivolous but inspired connection here.
I don't remember this. I didn't look at this one. Drostes Cacao. And it's just That's cool. It's a cube inside a cube inside a cube, I wonder.
I doubt that was the intention. I was just on high alert for anything lore, theory, craft related to chew on. We have that famous painting by Johann Schurft, of course the Islander Island from Paradise. We've got the chrome mask from the Paradox short, an antique clock, a tribute to David Lynch, a clear inspiration for this series. We've got a black cube, and if you recall, there was a Roots graphic novel, but here we have a Paradox graphic novel. Very cool. We've got the best kept memory tape player from Underground Blossom, an automaton that cycles through Laura and a corrupted soul, also made by Johann Schurft, sort of modern day Renaissance craftsman, and a cute little figurine of Rose and Albert's soul, made by the Tall Ones.
So we'll go over the password later. So, T for me, please.
T for me, please.
Oh gosh. I'm just reading this and I'm like, yeah, this is the part where I start stimming their lines. Gosh.
We have to fix this bug, but could you bring me a cold drink first?
A coffee for me, please.
We rummage through all the cabinets to find our implements and find our mug in that glow bar thing from Paradox. We solve a painting puzzle to find some matches, look at a desk to see some white door and Paradox memorabilia to find a tea bag and concoct our various elixirs.
A toasty for me, please. Tea for me, please. Say when. Say when. Say when. Tea for me, please.
Thanks.
Tea for me, please. Tea for me, please.
I think Martin needs some help.
Martin! Can you save some A's for the rest of us?
You can fix this.
Uncalled for. We complete a coding puzzle where we must fix the error that initially booted us out of the game. The sequence should be that we click on the wand, then we click on the hat, a balloon is revealed, and clicking on the balloon continues the sequence. Oddly enough, one of the choices we have is Mammoth. More on that in a second. We take our compiled new code and take it to our computer. I type in my name and deducing the code from referencing the memorabilia, we punch in 7285. Odd. Despite us not including the mammoth in our coding, we see him drop onto the rabbit. When I was neck deep trying to make sense of the best kept memory ARG, I stumbled across a very funny video on the Rusty Lake channel. It's like a Discovery Channel parody framed in that Rusty Lake universe. In the video, however, Rusty Lake is a very corporeal location.
Rusty Lake, a place for relaxation, a place to empty the mind.
And there's this lead archaeologist named, wait for it.
But as Dr. Vanderbone and her team have uncovered,
yes, Vanderbone. The reason I bring this video up is that Dr. Vanderbone is The reason I even bring this video up is because Dr. Vanderbone is particularly interested in the prospect of mammoths having walked up and down the shores of Rusty Lake in the BC times.
We were shocked to discover the remains of this creature at the lakeside. This positively contradicts any previous understanding of life at the lake. Could a mammoth really have lived on the shores of Rusty Lake in 20,000 BC?
Now, it's tough to appraise the significance, if at all, or if any, to this, but at the very least, the game is simply referencing something that dedicated Rustorians would recognize. However, if I wanted to really go an extra step, maybe the takeaway is that there is something about Rusty Lake that simply transcends time. Stuff that you wouldn't think to find, remains that you wouldn't think be preserved in its depths or on its shore, can be randomly discovered. I think we saw something kind of in that same vein regarding the confusion that we experienced seeing the Rusty Lake Hotel with its guests outside the window in Rusty Lake Roots, like in two completely mismatching timelines. And, you know, all the various mysterious things we saw in its depths when we were in the cave. But that's neither here nor there. If I'm going to revisit this, I'll be doing so when Servant of the Lake comes out. Now, where were we?
The music's fucking fire. I wanna go to the buffet, show you how much food I can put away now. Put away now. to the buffet. Away now. Food to put away now. Now this is interesting. If we click on the mirror, we see Mr. Rabbit. And this is what I find so fucking cool. And we're gonna get some more emphasis on this. But first of all, let's point the fact out that these are opposites, right? Mirrors. So the whole mini game, this one is pointing out opposites. I didn't point this. I'll point this out now. That these Joker rabbits. There's a good rabbit and a bad rabbit. So this is I should say this is a normal Joker, normal rabbit, bad rabbit. Ooh, Bad Bunny, conejo mal. That really titis my preguntas. So, of course, white to black, moon to sun, light. I got a question for you. Kilogram of steel or a kilogram of feathers? Fast like a rocket, slow like a snail, cold like ice cream. Ooh, ice cream. And then hot like coffee. Soft as a pillow, hard as a rock. Small as a mouse, big like my... And then we've got, of course, a gun. The only other option we have left is a rose. Freaky, huh? I get like a fight or flight response every time I see that fucker. All right, hold on. App unwrapper. Lend me your ear. Oh man, Mr. Rabbit, where the fuck are you? Mr. Rabbit Magic Show walkthrough. I mean, I've done this level so many times, and it's just like, With the help of App Unwrapper, we direct the dove into a white hat, taking us into the next puzzle, which is nuts. So we must cycle through various outfits of Mr. Rabbit, but perhaps these aren't outfits, but incarnations. We have Mr. Rabbit the Magician, of course, David Islander, not even him wearing his mask, just David Islander, pre-glorious Day of the Lake. Mr. Rabbit, the birthday killer, and of course the corrupted soul of Mr. Rabbit from the ending of Hotel. This is nothing that we don't already know, nothing that we weren't already able to suss out, but just to see it so clearly spelt out in this puzzle, this direct linking, not just David Islander wearing the rabbit mask as like a reference, but like a potential direct linking. It's just very, very cool to see it so explicitly, in a more direct fashion. Now, from where I'm standing, it does truly feel like we're tying a bow on that character as well. I say this because when I first finished Mr. Rabbit's Magic Show, before, again, even finishing part 1 of this series, I was slightly disappointed we didn't get any big, mind-blowing answers regarding the why of the events of Birthday, the intentions, the machinations of this Mr. Rabbit, magician, killer, or islander. But now that I'm here, my attitude is a lot more satisfied. All the answers that we can get have been implicitly spelt out throughout the series. The soul journeys of our characters and how they collide with other peripheral characters. The series didn't need to spell it out any more explicitly. If anything, that would ruin the fun. Now, we click notes alongside a pigeon, and it transforms into Mrs. Pigeon, and then she turns us into a rabbit. Very cool, sort of a flip side thing going on. And the final trick is a simple Toontown-esque falling through a black hole.
That was great!
Let's take a photo of you to celebrate this event.
Ah!
It turned out to be a bit overexposed.
What the f was that? Just an impromptu war cry. I'm really showing my more embarrassing quirks with these hot mic moments, but it's worth it for the comedy.
It's time for lunch. Could you make everyone a toasty? It's time for lunch. Could you make everyone a toasty?
I love the way he says toasty. Toasty.
Sorry I'm late. I found this in the hallway.
I'll be taking that. And you better not be late next time. You want anything for lunch?
A toasty for me, please.
Toasty. How about for you?
Could you make us some lunch?
All right, for sure. I'll get you a toasty. You?
Is it lunchtime already? I'm hungry.
I got some great news for you, buddy. Hey, Plant, you want a toasty? Oh, fuck! Shit! At least I got a card. Should have got him bronzed. I like that. Oh, the food. I love snacks. All right. And just get all the trash. You pigs. You guys made fantastic video games. It's actually insane. You know what? If you want to throw... I'm actually, honestly, you're entitled to throw more trash on the floor. More. All right. 4 toasties coming up. All right. Cheese toasty. Salami toasty. Toasty. We got an egg toasty. Got a very ominous toasty sound. We got a shrimp, obviously. And then, toasty. Okay, we're good. Alright, Mr. Lead. Or I'm assuming you're the lead. I'm gonna give you, a cheese toasty.
Cheese again.
So, yeah, and no matter what you feed them, they always say cheese again. Yeah, and then salami.
Yummy.
Oh, it's cool. If you gave the salami guy to this one, he says lekker, which is pretty cool. I guess it's Amsterdamanese for yummy. All right, we're gonna give you the egg toasty.
My favorite.
Nice. I think I always give him the egg toasty. I wonder what everybody else said, but I guess his favorite. All right, I'm gonna give you the shrimp toasty.
A bit shrimpy, perhaps.
A bit shrimpy, perhaps. Isn't that a it's uh-oh.
What's going on?
Oh crap. Ah, the toasty corrupted soul.
Who forgot to turn off the grill?
I don't know.
Was it the intern again?
Oh, I'm the intern. Oh, hey, hold on. There's a short film. We're not done here. No, we're done here.
Can someone please fix this?
Do you have a toasty?
Nah, I cannot see anything.
I just can't get over how... Oh, here we go.
Past is never dead.
Use the flashlight on your phone. I cannot work like this.
Where is that grill?
Where is that grill? Uh-oh.
You know what to do.
Martin! That's cool. That's crazy, man.
Time to order the cake.
Oh, well, you move pretty fast. Now, that was a fun sequence. Now, to get the phone number for the cake shop, we need to access the inbox on this phone. To do that, we need a password that we figure out by cross-referencing these photos to various memorabilia. So 1, 6, Harvey is the 3rd plushie, so 3, and then 9. In the inbox, we have a hint to the next game, appreciation for the translators of the series, a shout out to the merch store, which I really gotta take a look at soon, and then the mail labeled discount shows us the phone number for the cake shop. Turning around, we figure out who's been pranking us as Albert.
Haha, look what I found.
What do you mean, look what you found? That was not funny. I thought you were Albert. I thought you've come to put me in the box. And what do you mean, look what you found? It was right there. What was the number again? A similar thing happens at the end of the intern short film. Now, we call the cake guys.
Hi, this is Crazy Cool Cake. The Rusty Lake cake will be delivered in a few seconds. No needles guaranteed.
That's pretty cool. So it's referencing, you know, of course, Needles, California. No, of course, it's a reference to the needle that was found in Dale's birthday cake. So we wheel in the cake. Floor cake. Trade our coworker a piece of cake for, actually I shouldn't say coworker, this is actually I think also our boss as well. Trade our boss a piece of cake for a brush, clean up the broken vase from earlier, secure a key, and talk to our boss.
Hurry up, we need to decorate the office.
Okay, yay. Party streamers, hoop, ha, ha, hi, ha. I play with the balloons, put up some streamers, and play us out. Drink! Ice! Music! And here we go. Yeah. Come on in. Oh, it interrupts the music track. Okay, whatever.
Hey guys, I brought the new record.
No, we're playing the theme.
Let the party start already.
All right, for sure, man. This is cool. This is all the folks. This is all the people.
Hi, am I late?
This is kind of sick. I usually don't really care too much about these kinds of things, but man, I've kind of grown attached to this game.
I think I'm the last one.
Wow. That's so sick. Now hold on. We gotta play this one right here.
I think it's no wonder that this series is one of, if not the most requested and recommended series of this channel's viewers. Rusty Lake has fostered one of the most loving, kind, and curious fan bases I've seen, and to this day, I've always wondered why the hell were people who come to this channel so damn cool. And this is because they're Rusty Lake fans. Don't get me wrong, the soul of Funger is felt in the comments, the wit of Inscription is made known, and the overall indie scene warmth keeps this furnace searing hot. But something about the community that Rusty Lake has brought together really acts as a sort of rallying cry in the indie gaming space. A rallying cry that, while I feel has had a lot of closure at this point, still has much more cultural potential that time will reveal. So, I want to wish Rusty Lake a belated happy birthday. I'm glad that we made it to this age of 10 without any rabbit-related mishap. Now, let's dig into this cake.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rusty Lake. Happy birthday.
Oh, the bunny was a bunny the entire time. Wow. I've played through this already 3 times already, and I still, it never gets old, man. I fucking love this game. I love this series. I fucking love it. It's so sick.
Of course. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up with some of my final whiteboard thoughts. In a subtle way, we've been seeing the mythos of Rusty Lake form before our very eyes. Finite reigns, permanent principalities, chosen ones, and the dynasties they come from. The furthest back that we can go, well, until we get to a Servant of the Lake, but right now at least, the furthest we can go back regarding the Vanderboom family are the Alchemist brothers. Now, to the layman, they can be considered the inventors of the elixir of life and death. But something tells me in alchemy there are no inventors, just people who discover combinations of stuff, like in Doodle God. And it's through that discovery that we see said Doodle God-esque echoes throughout various puzzles, various soul sojourners. This elemental framework, just off the top of my head, we have Samsara Room, that secret shrimp ending, obviously the cubes at the end of Underground Blossom, like the little box of cubes. There's so many of them to even keep track of. Oh, that little mini game in chapter, maybe it was 1, that one mini game in Paradox, where there's all these different glasses in the alcohol case and they all represent elements like a fire or water. The echoes are there. As spelled out in The Cave and maybe Paradise, you know, those tomes, finding or crafting the elixir of life and death is a key component of finding enlightenment, a key component of this Day of the Lake. Now, from Aldous Vanderboom, we have Mr. Crow, and from William Vanderboom, we have the machinations of Rusty Lake roots. From the both, figurative and literal family tree of the Vanderboom family, there are many, many characters, but I think for the purposes of analyzing Laura Vanderboom's story, the most important one, or I should say the most important sort of mini dynasty within the larger dynasty, starts with the Brood, where Albert, through criminal means, preserved the egg of the late Ida Reisiger and alchemically conceived Rose Vanderboom. From there, all substances of the various family members were violently separated from them and brought together to craft the vessel that would be Laura Vanderboom. If you look back on Roots, it kind of feels like the backstory to a pantheon of gods and demigods. Albert, the god of ritual sacrifice, rageful because of his unrequited love for Ida, the goddess of fortune-telling. telling the future, very Golden Cube-esque. Murders her, as well as her husband, his brother, Samuel Vanderboom, the god of clocks, craftsmanship. From this villainy of the remaining Vanderboom triplet came Rose, the mother of the lake, and from her, Laura, the daughter of the lake. Perhaps to fulfill a prophecy of the Lady of the Lake, the Day of the Lake, paradise will rise again. That is not a good Mr. Owl impression. Oh well, that takes us to Mr. Owl. You know, in an odd way, the Islander arc kind of plays out like an Old Testament story, you know, sacrifice, brutality, plagues. Now, but we covered the Islander story in depth in part 2. What I want to focus on here is just the significance of Mr. Owl, largely the 3 avian stewards of the lake. To me, Mr. Owl's symbology, his avian symbology, reveals his core value, wisdom, a trait symbolically and commonly linked to owls. I believe Mr. Owl is somebody who has fully leaned into understanding the natural order of Rusty Lake. In some cases, he may come off as helpful, like from the perspective of Dale Vandermeer, or he may come off as cold, from the perspective of Laura, like in The Mill. And, in some cases, he can be downright villainous, from the perspective of Robert in The White Door. But I think when you zoom out and just focus on that through line, we can just see this as a sort of knowledge or understanding at any cost pillar to the history of Rusty Lake. Perhaps that is why Dale will ultimately become the next owl, the next steward, because he is driven by this constant hunger of trying to solve the mystery. Endless whys, endless hows and whats that will be converted into that desire for understanding. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What about the other 2 avian stewards? Mr. Crow is very simple. Archetype-wise, he comes off as very dark and foreboding, especially when we remember his catchphrase, "You know what to do," handing somebody a knife. However, I think much like with Mr. Owl, if we zoom out, we can really ingest Mr. Crow's effect on this story as something more neutral, something more sober. Heck, we can even lean into the bird symbology. Now, crows are very intelligent birds. And as I already previously established, they're more opportunistic. They're not like purely like carry-on eaters. But symbolically, colloquially, they are generally understood to be these sort of corpse-munching scavengers, feasters on the rotting dead. In other words, agents that take dead matter and turn it into something else. Mr. Crow is a ferryman. In one case, he was an elevator attendant, and in Underground Blossom, he was a ticket puncher for the train line. A Haran-coded figure, taking dead or departed souls elsewhere. Clean, simple. I like it. Now, my beloved Harvey. He's been there since the beginning. And because of that, he strikes me as a more foundational figure to Rusty Lake. A true guiding pillar that I don't even think has a human form. Definitely not a human voice. The only phrase he's ever spoken is "Johnson." One thing that I find particularly unique about him is that he's identifiable in all forms. What I mean by this is, sometimes when you see a crow in a puzzle, it's just that, a crow. It's not always supposed to represent Mr. Crow. Same thing with owls. You know, there were a couple cases in Paradise we saw those really creepy, like the fourth kind looking owls. Bad unlocked memory, I'm sorry. Those are probably not Mr. Owl. But anytime in Rusty Lake you see an African gray parrot, that's definitely Harvey. He's just, he's a constant. I don't know, something primordial, something that came in even before humanity, like this principality that when the first soul blossomed into the Rusty Lake, there was already Harvey standing there. However, there's many places this story can still go. To me, I would consider him to be the servant of the lake. And, well, the title of the next Rusty Lake game, releasing in 2026, is Servant of the Lake. There's nothing in the demo that indicates this, but I can't help but feel we're going to learn a bit more about Harvey in that release. Time will tell. maybe there'll be no mention of Harvey, or maybe it will be revealed that Harvey did in fact have a human past. In either case, I will have to eat crow. Or parrot. Speaking of which, I've got one more question I'd like to answer, being that this is the finale. Now, where do I think the series is going to go from here? It's hard to really say because we've got a whole lot of closure when it comes to our big three, Dale, Laura, and Bob. However, based on the demo of Servant of the Lake, which I highly recommend you download and play, it looks like we're going to be going back in time to right before Rusty Lake Roots. We'll be following William Vanderboom before his death, Aldous Vanderboom before his crow ascendance or whatever, and we'll be meeting a new third Vanderboom, maybe a sister, maybe a wife, Alexandra Vanderboom. Based on the gameplay and the title, Servant of the Lake, we'll be playing as a butler, which has me fingers crossed hoping that maybe we might get some more info on Harvey. A cool little reveal kind of similar to Rusty Lake Hotel. And by the way, Harvey, thank you for the oatmeal. But we got some new characters. We got a wide-eyed maid, and we've got a really cool carriage driver guy who we flip a coin to. So he's like our transitory dude, and we give him a coin. It's kind of like Charon, you know? And being that Aldous hasn't drinking the elixir yet, he's kind of like the Mr. Crow pre-Mr. Crow. But yes, going back to where I think, not so much where the series is going to go, but what direction Servant of the Lake is going to take, I would say it seems like it's going to maybe strike a balance between Roots and Paradise. To me, Roots was very, very like discernible. And because it was so discernible, it was very easy to take everything for face value. And crap, you can kind of say the same thing about Paradise too, but with Paradise it was abstract enough to where when you kind of read between the blurred lines, you were kind of like picking up all sorts of stuff here and there because you were in the thick of it. Whereas with Roots, it was kind of like, you're just taking things for what they are, and then you almost have to take a step back. With Roots, this is so nonsense, but with Roots, you almost have to take a step back to kind of see things for what they are, whereas with Paradise, you have to take a step forward. And so I think Servant of the Lake is going to kind of strike that balance, kind of somewhat like we've seen with also Underground Blossom, a mixture between abstract and discernible. There's clearly a storyline, there's clearly something going on, but there's got to be more to it, right? Similar to also Rusty Lake. Really, you could just say that about all the freaking, at least the mainline titles, Rusty Lake, not so much the Cube Escape ones. Anyways. I trust that whatever Rusty Lake Studios gives us is gonna be great. It's been great thus far. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out the Servant of the Lake demo. You can download it right now on Steam, and also subscribe to the Rusty Lake YouTube channel. Now, before heading off, I want to let you guys know the next video is going to likely be on No, I'm Not Human. I've been having a blast with that game. It's scratching a similar itch to Home Safety Hotline, but there's just some stuff you can really dig into there commentary-wise. Especially in ways that, well, I don't know, a lot of people have been making uploads in my little recommended panel thing, but there are very creative ways you can go about interpreting that game that I think will be very fun. My only reservation is that I've been having trouble collecting game footage. It's a very like randomized type game, and so I've been trying to sort of hack at the game through cheat engine, so I can kind of stage certain safe states, so I can kind of more easily collect the game footage. So if that becomes too cumbersome, I'll work on that in the background and then do something else in the meantime. But anyways, as always, thank you all so much for your support and most importantly, your patience. Until next time, ma salama, suda sutun, hasta luego, I'll see you soon.